Over the heart of the South sits 2.66 miles of chaos, ready for the second super speedway trip midway through the season, where tonight from virtual Lincoln, Alabama, we welcome you to the 9th race of season 5 of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series from the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. As always, happy that you're back with us on MaxSpeedTV for another Wednesday night, where alongside Francisco Bacallao atop the broadcast booth, my name is Kenneth Bueno. And Francisco, it has been a while since we have greeted a super speedway race. Last time we did it was race number 1 at Daytona. We've had multiple Talladega races in the history of 4 Wide Racing, but maybe not in this fashion. We've seen a lot of competitiveness this season, and with the way we are winding down to the halfway mark, we may just be talking about playoff implications, how important this race will be in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here, Kenneth. Talladega, one of the wild card races of the season, our first trip to this track on the schedule. And, you know, you mentioned it there. We've had some crazy races here in the past, but for the most part, they do bring green flag racing. So it's going to be important for guys to find people they want to work with, to try and stick together and stay at the front of the field. We see packs sometimes get separated in those long green flag runs, but you have to make sure you keep track position. I know that the draft, and you can probably hang in the back, play it safe, but at the end of the day, you need track position. We saw that work out for Colin Forster at Daytona. So for somebody to try and repeat that level of success this week, they're going to have to try and stick at the front of the field and find friends they want to work with.
That's going to be very important. We'll talk about teams and how important that is. We also have a Dash for Cash qualifier in tonight's race from Talladega, so we'll give you the list of the drivers that are involved, who's at stake, and of course who's willing to get the amount of money by the time the checkered flag waves tonight. And we'll talk about teams very important at these super speedways, and one team in particular that we want to highlight is Drinkin' Bros Racing. DBR is on fire as of late. They've won the last 3 races of the regular season. Michel over at Road America, Joe Sanchez over at Richmond, and then last week a 1-2-3-4 effort with former champion Lawson Pill, your defending champion, as a matter of fact, getting the race win. That was his 3rd of the calendar. And by the way, we're coming back to Talladega. Last time we were here was a playoff race, Brandon Banks. For guess what? DBR, Drinkin' Bros Racing, got to victory lane, entered the championship 5. So Drinkin' Bros Racing is arguably one of the best teams that we've seen, at least over the past couple of months. End of season number 4, beginning and maybe even middle of season number 5. How important is this team streak going to be, not only in tonight's race, Francisco, but over the course of the season, where they're going to look to be a real threat?
Yeah, teamwork is very prevalent, especially with these cars, because you can draft and push and do all these sorts of things at a lot of the big tracks. So you have to keep that in mind, and you have to be selfless at times. There's going to be occasions where maybe it benefits somebody else to make a move or do something in the race that'll help the team out, and it might cost you a little bit, but you have to be willing to sacrifice if you're going to be having streaks like this and success like this. There's going to be days where it's yours and days where it's your teammates. It's realizing what time is right in the moment in the race to be able to make the right moves that'll give the team a win. Obviously, let's say you're running top 4 or so at the end of the race, maybe you're going to try and be aggressive and try and go for the win for yourself. But the last thing you want to do is cause a massive pileup, and none of those 4 win the race, you know? So these guys have to balance being aggressive and trying to be selfish and trying to win a race for themselves. And of course, tonight isn't just about winning a race. We also have the qualifier for the Dash for Cash. Kenneth, I'll let you talk about that.
That's going to be very important when we talk about the points situation over the playoffs. We look at our Season 5 schedule, and of course, that Dash for Cash prize qualifier. We have a lot of drivers in that group, starting with Lawson Peel, your winner from last week, Eric Schaefer, Jesse Prees, Brandon Gillis, Christopher Bishop, Tony Kivet, Austin Reedy, Brandon Banks, Craig Lounslager, Tyler Murray, Michael Newbraw, Joe Sanchez, and CJ Munoz. There's a pack full of drivers that are all looking to qualify into the Dash for Cash finale, which will happen in a couple of weeks' time. So keep in mind, a lot more on the line than just that checkered flag and a spot into the 2023 playoffs. Drivers are lined up behind the iRacing official pace car, which means it is our time to take a look at the drivers lining up on your starting grid. See exactly where everybody and your favorite driver will be lining up here tonight for 94 laps here from the virtual Talladega Superspeedway. Eric Schaefer in the number 3 lines up on pole with a 53.484. He'll be the first to see the green flag in his Chevrolet Camaro. He will have AJ Green in a very trippy paint scheme to the outside in that very first row. Austin Reedy in the 96 has been a powerhouse driver on the Superspeedways. We'll see if he can hook up with his teammates and potentially just gain the respect of everybody else. Might get him a win himself. Joe Sanchez on the outside, the winner at Richmond from a couple of weeks back. He's outside in P4. Lining up the top 5 is the 28 of Jaden Porter in that famous ally scheme. Cody Kinsey going to be on the outside in P6. Row number 4, you'll find Michael Newbraw and Brandon Banks doubled up 7th and 8th. Brandon Banks the defending winner here at Talladega Superspeedway. Final 2 drivers in your top 10 include Tony Kibbett and Lawson Peel in the number 12, the winner from last week at Kansas.
The 6th row consists of a couple of veterans, including your former champion, the teammate of former champion Adam Alishire and Jason Hastings making a return tonight. Kenneth will be in the 12th position. Jesse Prees, a longtime veteran of the series, will be 13th with one of the Tylers, Tyler Warner, in the 14th spot. Moving it down to 15th, Tristan Bailey's going to try and find Kyle Benson, who's going to be alongside him, and as well as teammate Austin Reedy. And there you see Tyler Murray, the other member of that organization. He starts in 17th with CJ Munier down in the 18th position. In the final row of the top 20, you have Brandon Gillis and Christopher Bishop.
Drivers lining up 21st on back. They start with Rodney Roberts, the rookie driver in the number 20, starts inside row 11. Brian Dixon will be on the outside in his number 03 machine. Kevin D'Elia in the 53 will be 23rd. Nicholas Vizzuti makes a return after a while in this series. He rolls off outside row 12 in 24th. He is the last driver, by the way, to take time in qualifying. First driver not to is 25th place Colin Forster. He starts deep from the field with Curtis Kelly alongside him in row number 13. Daniel Michel, the winner at Road America, will be 27th. Brady Cox alongside him in 28th. Xander Short returns to the series. The rookie driver will be 29th at the drop of the green. Lance Hill, way deep in the field, he rounds out your current top 30 on the starting grid. The final 2 drivers in our 32-car field from Talladega. James Carroll making his debut run here in the 4Wide Racing Cup Series this season, and the number 81 of Cody Ivey. So we go for 94 laps here from Lincoln, Alabama, just over 250 miles, 402 kilometers. We do also have 4 sets on pit road, 55-mile-per-hour pit road speed limit. It is going to be very important to nail those down. Strategy and pit road speed limit, Francisco, when you think about it. But most importantly, what are your keys to victory to trying to tame this Talladega Superspeedway? It's very hard to do, though.
Yeah, very hard, and you might not ever do it, but there's times where you can just maybe conquer it enough to find success here, and you need teammates. That's one of the main things. You need to find people to work with, guys that are willing to work with you, that can drive you up to the front of the field if you're not there. You have to avoid the big one. It can happen at any time. It might not even happen, but you have to make sure you stand clear of that. Protect your race car, especially with these sensitive race cars. The suspension, very, very fragile. You have to make sure you take care of it. And, of course, be aggressive when you have to. There's times in the race where you have to be kind of a little bit at peace and trying to be a little bit calm, but there's times where you have to make aggressive moves. Distinct which one is which and which one's appropriate, and you should be able to find your way to the front of the field by the time the checkered flag's getting ready to wave. Of course, Kenneth, Talladega famed for the start-finish line being so far down towards turn 1. They're in the Geico restart zone. Your leader's on the outside line, and we're underway for the second Superspeedway of the year.
Car on the outside wall, one down to the inside apron, and multiple cars in the inside wall. One of them Adam Alishire, the other Jason Hastings, and the caution flag is out for the first time this evening. Before we can even complete a lap, I see Lawson Peel involved as well. And we talked about chaos arising. At any moment, it looked like it took not too long for it to happen. We are behind the iRacing official pace car for the first time tonight. There's a look at Jason Hastings, Bucky's machine. How torn up it is on the left side. We'll see exactly how it all began. Max Shredaway exiting turn 2. It's very hard to get in line. At least to get started, you wind up through the gears. It looked like a miscommunication up at the front. That was one of the Ford machines I believe the 33 of Tyler Warner got out of shape, packed everybody behind him, and then all of a sudden it just became an absolute sandwich. Nobody could go anywhere, and guys like Lawson Peel, some of our Dash for Cash drivers, Francisco, involved early.
Yeah, it looked like your pole sitter got a good start, but then just kind of drifted back on the outside, kind of stacked up. If you go back to turn one, you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see the three kind of nose ahead, be in front of the field, and then all of a sudden, that lane just starts losing momentum, and they start going a little bit further back. And then a couple guys try to make a move to get around him, noticing this, and then you'll see guys kind of hit a bumper. You see right there, guys shake a little bit, trying to move, and guys run into each other, and that's how it sets off. That's how quickly it can happen, and obviously nobody expects it to happen on lap one so quickly, but it did, and now a couple of key guys involved. Lawson Peel was one of the most notable guys in there. He's one of the more dominant drivers in the series the last couple of seasons. He's involved in the early wreck. Here we are on board with your defending race winner. He's into the outside wall. Looks like he's got some aero damage there. I'm not sure what the suspension damage could look like, Kenneth, but he might have gotten away with one there, as a couple of guys, unfortunately not as lucky, slide into the inside wall and get a little bit worse damage than that. You see a lot of the field in on pit road, and most of it's going to be for damage repair, but other guys are probably looking for some fuel stops here to try and ensure that it can go a little bit longer.
This is everybody 8th on back coming for pit road. This starts with the number 6 of Michael Newbraw. I do want to correct that quick lane Ford Mustang. That is Cody Kinsey in the 93. Just saw the 3. It looked similar on the left side of the number, but it is the 93 we're talking about. Cody Kinsey in the second driver on the outside lane. Here you look at Brandon Banks getting his damage repair. There is fast repairs given to every single one of these drivers, at least one offered to the entire field. But of course, very early on in this race, and given the fact that this is a super speedway affair, the last thing you want to do is burn that fast repair so early, to the point where if you end up in a big one, you end up in another crash in the next 91 or so laps, you have to spend that time down pit road. So it's better to sacrifice that time now, at least not go a lap down, and then burn the fast repair when you need it. So caution flag out already the opening laps here from Talladega Super Speedway. That does give us, though, Francisco, a chance to talk more about what we are expecting for our series schedule moving forward. Of course, we do have Talladega coming up, or right now, at least, they're coming up for the end of this race. We'll decide who's going to be in victory lane by the time we end this deal. But we do have a lot of different tracks coming up. Atlanta Motor Speedway coming up next. I don't believe we have confirmation whether that is the Super Speedway configuration or whether that is going to be the old 2008 iRacing scan. Then we have New Hampshire, Texas, Circuit of the Americas, Auto Club Gateway, Indy Oval, Iowa, Dover, Darlington, and then Daytona to round out our regular season to decide which drivers are going to be fighting for a Season 5 title. And I'd argue in some ways, Francisco, this race, Talladega, probably doesn't look like the most obvious to go fight for a playoff spot, but we're race 9 into an 18-race regular season. You may have to start thinking about those playoff points if you're not a driver that is already locked in. It's going to be very important to set yourself up, most importantly for Daytona, instead of waiting until the last minute and then having your back against the wall.
Yeah, it's important for guys to be able to do it as early as possible. And of course, Talladega offers that opportunity right in the middle of the regular season. And of course, you mentioned where it's race 9 on the season. Next time out in 2 weeks, it'll be at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And I do believe Tyler Murray has mentioned that is going to be the old Atlanta, not the Super Speedway, that we've seen in real life run the last year. We then go to a couple of intermediates and road courses that include New Hampshire, Texas, Circuit of the Americas once again, which proved to be a wild card last year, Auto Club Gateway, which is making its league debut, the Oval at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Iowa is making a return with Dover, Darlington, and of course you mentioned Daytona capping off the regular season. So we're kind of in the middle portion of the schedule, and right now it starts to sort of paint a picture as to what we'll see in the coming races before Daytona. And it's important for guys that are around the bubble or in the cutoff area to set themselves up now. You don't want to be worrying those last 2-3 races if you have enough points. If you do the work now, you save yourself the trouble later. And obviously at a track like this, it's easier to say than do. But if you play your cards right and give yourself the right opportunity, you might just walk away saving yourself from a headache later down in a couple months.
It's also a question of how much are you willing to risk as a driver in this race, knowing that it's part of the regular season. Are you willing, though, to try and be more aggressive, go for the win, even if it means a higher chance of getting involved in a wreck? Or are you just going to be willing to stay back and then hold on to whatever points you can get, survive some of the big crashes, and then just work on the other tracks that are in the schedule that you're probably more confident in if you're any one of these talent out in front. It's going to be interesting, but I do like the news that we have old Atlanta. I do like that track way more than what we have at the Super Speedway right now, because yes, it's exciting with the next-gen car, but you got to love tire saving and good old discipline.
Yeah, especially with the way that racetrack in particular was. You don't have that many around anymore. You got to look for tracks like Auto Club, Homestead, Chicagoland to provide any kind of racing that Atlanta would provide. And it doesn't measure the same way just because of the way the racetrack itself was laid out. And soon enough, Kenneth, soon enough, that racetrack will get into that shape. It'll take a couple of years, probably a whole decade before getting sixth. Austin Reedy, he's already found himself all the way up there. He's going to try and see what he can do. The green flag is out or back underway.
New face in the front. AJ Green in the 48 going to lead them to turn one and a deadlock with that 96. So Austin Reedy, looks like Reedy might already have a head of steam with Eric Schaefer to push. And they might even out by the time they exit turn two. It's going to take a little while before these drivers get wound up to fifth gear. And the maximum revs you can get this next-gen car in the draft. It looks like Reedy's going to win this battle for now. Huge push by Jaden Porter in the 28 to bring him back in contention. But the 96 of Austin Reedy clear by a couple of car lengths. And Eric Schaefer to push. Jesse Prees and Schaefer looking to the inside for the race lead.
The Pulsar with an aggressive move. As soon as he got clear, he went down there. He's going to have the help for Prees, and he gets clear. So in the first green flag lap of this race, after losing the lead on the start, he's going to get back to it, and he's going to lead the first actual lap ran here under power. As he's come back around, AJ Green's back in third. You see him already looking up top. Jaden Porter's going to try and move up. It's a little bit of a dangerous move there. He's then actually going to get stuck in the middle as the lines will move past him. And that's something we're going to see here tonight several times, Kenneth. Guys are going to try and make some moves and be aggressive, trying to block a line, and it could result in just that. Jaden Porter, with no help in the middle, he's going to lose several positions.
Luckily, he does have the 93 of Cody Kinsey to assist, but that sucker hole is dangerous. If you get in it, here comes Kyle Benson, and just like we see at the super speedways, Murray Reedy Motorsports back together once again. This dynamic duo has been so good, Francisco, at these super speedways. The one thing they lack is wins in the column. They have been so good at working together. Might add a third here with the 55 of Joe Sanchez. Going to make it a DBR 1-2 inside, outside. With the 10 and the 96. We'll watch them all night long. Unless they get separated by traffic or by a wreck, you're going to see these two locked up all race.
Yeah, that team is always very aggressive when it comes to these super speedway races. They're willing to be aggressive, pushing and making moves, and it pays off for them. But unfortunately for them, they just haven't been able to cap off with that win, and that's what they're going to try and do, Kenneth. They want to finally get that win, and it could be any one of the 3 or 4 drivers that are usually up and racing with each other. The sooner they can do it, the better off they'll be. And you see right there, they're going to make a move to the inside of Sanchez. That's going to be those teammates, Kyle Benson and Austin Reedy. We've seen them at the front of the field on road courses, on super speedways, always around each other. And right now, at least for now, they're 1-2.
They ditched a 55 on the inside. Now they had Lance Hill, the third car behind. Hill's going to move up top, and Hill started inside the top 30 deep in this field, and he's already up into the top 5, looking potentially for the race lead. A very interesting paint scheme as well. That's Ross Chastain's BMUS.org #1 machine that he took to victory lane at this track in real life in the spring. And now here comes Hill with a head of steam off a push from the 55 of Joe Sanchez. And out of turn 2, Lance Hill with an opportunity at P1 on the back straightaway.
I think that car is more famous for the Hail Melon, Kenneth, but right now the Hail Melon's going to the lead.
And Hail Melon to the front. Funny enough, they banned that move for 2023, but no wall needed if you're Lance Hill in the 1 machine. But here comes Sanchez to the outside. Big run by a pair of rookies. Xander Short, Rodney Robertson bring in veteran Colin Forster. 4 cars at the top. Bring Sanchez to the front.
Those two aren't teammates, but they do work well together. They're longtime friends, Rodney and Xander are, and right now they find themselves in the top 5. Xander up into P2. You see the rookie stripes on his car. He's going to see what Rodney can try and do to help him out there. As you see Forrester, the winner of the Daytona race, is finding himself towards the front now. He's going to have help from another Trackhouse car in that one of Lance Hill. You see the outside lanes getting a little bit broken up, at least further in the back. A lot of cars to the inside and several cars up towards the very outside, and it's very strung out. But for now, Forster finds himself up in the front of the field. He's going to have Curtis Kelly down in 30. You see Jaden Porter, he has already found his way back up in the top 5. He now leads the inside lane, trying to fight for third.
And what we're watching right now, most notably out of turn 4 with Colin Forster being the new race leader, is that these teammates are insanely catching up to each other and working together quickly. They are not hesitating to find each other out on the racetrack and try to make tandems or even 3-car packs work. I see DBR in this mix. Obviously, Murray Reedy Motorsports, they got pushed back to the field in these opening laps, but they're working together already. The 1 and the 99, although they technically aren't part of the same team, they were teammates last season in Stonks Motorsports, and now Lance Hill charges on the outside, a push from the 55 of Sanchez, and it'll bring the 1 machine of Lance Hill back to the lead. 3rd car in line, Xander Short. He'll move to the inside for 2nd.
In the last 2 or 3 laps, Kenneth, has what a block there by the 1 of Lance Hill to try and cover up 21 of Xander. But in the last couple laps, the field's kind of gotten strung out. There's a second pack that has formed a little bit further back from this field, and the back end of the field's kind of falling apart a little bit. They're still there, holding nicely with the draft as Short tried to make a move to the outside, has no help as those are teammates basically all in line behind him, the teammates of the 1 anyway. And there you see a move being made by the 55 of Sanchez to go up top, and Jaden Porter thought about going with him, but he didn't. And now it's going to leave the 55 out. And you can see that just absolutely destroyed the outside lane line. Somebody's down to the apron. It looks like they're trying to get out of this mess right now. But the outside lane right there, Kenneth, lost all momentum. And now it is single file for the top 10.
Single file through the top 10. And first driver inside your position for Dash for Cash qualifier, at least in P1, that is Christopher Bishop in the number 42. Everybody else farther behind, everybody all single file. I think they understand how chaotic it's been in the opening 10 laps in Francisco. I feel like you as a driver, and you've been in many of these races yourself, you can understand the complexity of this type of racing and working with drivers and then just trying to feel out what's going to happen, whether drivers are being very aggressive to start, whether they're being very conservative to start, and how you plan to move forward. I think right now, as it appears, these drivers saw how aggressive they were in the opening stint, and they said, all right, we saw that first caution come out before we even completed the first lap. Let's try not doing that again. Let's run some green flag laps.
And it always comes down to how quickly can you get single file. Sometimes on restarts, you'll see that. You'll see guys get antsy and trying to gain the spots while they can. Sometimes there's a moment that occurs that leads to the single file performing or showing up, as you saw earlier about a lap or 2 ago. The move with Xander going to the outside kind of broke up the outside lane a bit, and that's what led to everybody being single file. But also everyone realizes, hey, it's lap 13 out of 94. There's still over 80 laps left in this one. You won't win it right now, but you can definitely lose it, and there's some time left before moves need to be made. There's several pit stops that are going to be made in this race at some point. Let's just get in line, save some time, maybe save some fuel for some potential strategy calls down the line, and just click off these laps. This is the best thing you could do if you're a driver in the race. Of course, spectators and fans alike, they like to see the racing, they like to see the action, but if you're behind the wheel, it can be very nerve-wracking, and this is probably the safest thing to do, and the best bet to give yourself a chance to win is ride it out now and give yourself a shot once the money's on the table.
And stay single file. It looks like that's the consensus for the entire field. A bit of swerving. Some drivers potentially looking at the second lane, seeing if some drivers might go with them. For right now, it looks like nobody is finding luck. Lance Hill leads him to the stripe, lap number 14 of 94. And one thing that is for certain, Francisco, is that if we stay on this single file train on the bottom, it's only going to make it that much easier for the entire field to come down pit road, because we see this happen usually right before these drivers come in for service. Obviously, they've still got roughly 10 or 15 laps before they even decide to come down for pit road service for fuel and for tires that they elect to choose for Goodyear Eagles. But it is going to make that trip down pit road much easier because they're not side by side, they're not 3 wide, they're not 4 wide on the racetrack, they're all single file, hugging that yellow line at the bottom, so it's an easy trip. Just make that simple left as soon as the apron transitions out of turn 4, and then you obviously have a straight shot in. The worst part is hitting the brakes, making sure you can slow down for that pit road speed limit. A little bit of drama on the outside as they cross the stripe. Rookie Xander Short trying to push the 28 of Jaden Porter. They leave Rodney Roberts for Dustin in the middle. Adam Alshire in the middle, and they almost make contact. In fact, they do. Roberts in a Bailey up into the outside wall. He'll tag the 12 of Lawson Peel, and for the second time at lap 15, caution is out. And the 12 of Peel involved in a second accident at a turn 2.
Yeah, you could tell it was going to get antsy. Those are a couple of teammates and friends involved there in that one. As you see a car actually later on the back straightaway. I'm not sure if it was Rodney again that's sideways. Actually, no, there's a different car on the back straightaway that got into the wall. It looks like that's going to be the 24 machine, I believe, Kenneth, of Tristan Bailey. It might appear that was involved. We'll see what happened to him, but we'll get a look at what happened exactly at the start. So we'll see here. Into turn one, it looks like Roberts and Xander Short kind of swerve a little bit. You see Xander comes down a little bit. Rodney then proceeds to come up, and that leads to a little bit of contact, and it's just enough to set them off, and that's what gets Peel and Roberts involved in the crash on turn two. We'll get another look at it there. That was actually the 28 of Porter that pulled out and left his teammate out, and Xander is going to try and come down, but also Rodney kind of moves up, and as said, that leads to just enough contact to send these boys around, and going to go spinning. But we'll see what happens now to the 24. He's on the inside of all of this as it's going on. We're right on board with Field. There's the 24 to the left side of all of it. They're 3 wide, and there's a lot of room here. It's not like Daytona where 3 wide's kind of tight. Here you have a lot of room, but I guess these guys just didn't have enough, and Lawson Field just goes up high, and unfortunately not the right spot to be in. And later down the road, Tristan Bailey, still not exactly sure what happened, Kenneth. We haven't gotten a look to see how exactly he spun. I know he got some contact while they were going around and getting hit on the apron, but I'm not sure how he ended up sideways halfway down the back straightaway.
We'll take a look, and I think it was right here where he caught the apron just trying to save the race car and wiggled it once, twice, and maybe 3 times, and then officially looped it around. But a great job to save it and came back up the track. Fortunately, everybody was well ways away before they can get to him, and Tristan Bailey escapes with minimal damage on his Chevrolet Camaro. He is also one of the Murray Reedy Motorsports cars in this field. And so for the second time tonight here from Talladega, we have a caution flag at lap 16. Field on a pit road. Looks like many of them leading them out, including the 99, the 48, Colin Forster, AJ Green, and bringing the 71, Curtis Kelly. And to get the banana card, don't forget, he was part of that main group inside your top 5 before we had that yellow. So he's going to be 3rd by the time they exit pit road. First driver and only one to stay out. It's going to be the 76 of Tony Kivitz. So even then, through some of our single file action, we found the way as soon as they were trying to open up other lanes for trouble out on the racetrack. And I think the biggest thing is that Lawson Peel has been involved in not only 1, but 2 accidents in tonight's race. It appears as though the 12 is going to be able to trot okay. He currently sits in P18 right now. There he is on the apron. It looks like he's already burned off his faster pair for his Chevrolet Camaro. The good thing for Lawson Peel, of course, is that he's already locked into the playoffs. He came off that win at Kansas just a couple of weeks back. He had 2 wins prior, so he's got no worries for the playoffs. But, I mean, there is something to fight for. That Dash for Cash qualifier is something that even the drivers locked into the playoffs want to have. It's always great to get an extra cash incentive, gives you a little momentum, makes you feel good, and one thing more than other, Francisco, it gives you the bragging rights over the rest of the field. And I'm sure Peel definitely not liking the situation he's in right now, forced to use this faster pair lap 17.
Yeah, and if we're being honest, a little bit of cash in this economy doesn't kill. So the guys want to go for that extra green and fill their pockets up just a little bit more. And if you could try and do that at Talladega, at least get yourself the chance at Talladega, albeit I'm not exactly sure which race is going to be the official race they do the Dash for Cash. I don't remember exactly which one they have it labeled on the schedule, but it is in the coming weeks. And what a chance to be able to make it. It was supposed to be last week at Kansas, but unfortunately we couldn't get that race up. But they moved it to here today, and if I'm being honest, it's probably going to make it all the more exciting for us and probably a little bit more nerve-wracking for them.
So we talked about Tony Kivett heading for the exit in terms of pit road and not going in. Looks like he's going to come in this time by, so that should hand the lead over to Colin Forster. AJ Green going to be on the outside. This is the pair of Stonks Motorsports teammates that have taken the 4Wide Racing Cup Series by storm. We talk about their opening season. AJ Green was the champion out of all of that. Colin Forster, in his first 3 races, he got his first 3 wins in overtime, and Forster fortunately has been able to grab a couple of wins of his own. AJ Green still yet to add on to that tally for season number 5. He's been waiting for that opportunity, and he is a former winner at a super speedway. He won at Daytona last season in the regular season finale. So safe to say we got a lot of good super speedway talent up at the front. One driver to also invite into the top 5 for the first time this evening. How about Kevin D'Elia? The number 53, haven't really seen him. He started around the mid portion of the field, and nice to see the 53 move up. He's going to be on the outside of row number 2. So Colin Forster, AJ Green, Kevin D'Elia, Curtis Kelly, Lance Hill, your current top 5 as it stands. We've seen 2 different sides of the table, Francisco. A lot of chaotic and antsy racing in the first half lap before we got that caution. and then some quiet racing before we had our second. Are we expecting the same or different by the time we get to this restart?
I think at some point the guys are going to try and get some racing. And one of the more annoying things from a driver aspect is when you have continuous yellows in a really long race, especially a plate race, because everyone's going to stay together. It's not a track where you'll exactly get separated at some point and all you need is the run. It can happen at any time. So you kind of have to have joint cooperation with the whole field to kind of relax and take the foot off the gas. The problem is there's guys that want to capitalize when drivers will do that to try and make up positions. So it's a mixed strategy that leads to that kind of thing. You have guys that want to take it easy, guys that want to be more aggressive. One meets the other, and that's where the wrecks will happen. So we'll just have to see what's the percentage of guys that are trying to take it easy, how guys that are trying to be aggressive, and also hope that they don't exactly find each other on the same part of the racetrack, because that's how you end up with what we've seen so far.
So we get into the restart at lap number 19 of 94. And the 99 of Colin Forster will have the entire field behind him. He will be at discretion for the green flag once they enter that restart zone. And like you said, Francisco, at the top of the show, it's a long trip to that start-finish line, and even to the restart zone. It's not in the middle of the tri-oval, the start-finish line. It's all the way in that chute between the exit of the tri-oval and turn 1. In the Geico restart zone, Colin Forster will go. He hops up and away. We're green flag racing once again from Talladega. A little bit of separation as they head for turn 1, but the 99 clear by a couple of car lengths.
And look to the inside. D'Elia look, but he's going to get blocked there by Forster. It's going to leave Lance Hill to lead the outside lane for now until they get up to speed. You see the outside lane kind of, once again, a little bit separated, a lot less cars as most of the people in the back try to get to the bottom and get single file, which is what we've seen so far. At least the back half of the field has been that way. But there you see a little bit of a run there. Benson's going to give the push to the 1. He's going to stay right on his back bumper. And they could get a run here onto the tri-oval, Kenneth, as they're getting a good solid momentum. D'Elia's not going to go up the block. You see Benson's being very aggressive. He's going to get into the back of the 1. They're now side by side for third. D'Elia was able to not get side drafted, and that's just going to keep the top 2 pulled away. Say AJ Green's going to break away as well. And that just didn't work out for those two, because look, there's a third lane. Jaden Porter's trying to lead it.
Trying to dump that second lane in the middle. Jaden Porter, Austin Reedy, and Tristan Bailey. The 3 cars up at the top. They'll try and find some momentum. Coming out of turn 2. Looks like they won't have it for now. Here comes Hill, blocking the move up at the very top from the 28. Benson's going to file in line, leaving Brandon Gillis for dead in the middle. Back to turn 3.
One thing we've noticed with this car, Kenneth, is that the outside lane, and I do mean the outside lane, is very useful. As you see, they're going to actually ditch Hill in the middle of the corner, and that's going to put the 28 BBR machine at the front of the field. Jaden Porter finds himself leading this race for the first time. He's got a couple of teammates, not of his, but a couple of teammates working against him and just behind, so he's got to be careful. They could make a move at any moment.
We see the 96 and the 24. Will they make a move down low? Lance Hill going to try to retaliate up at the very top. He'll have the 91, his Trackhouse teammate, and Adam Alshire to give support. It looks like the 91 will push the 1 to the inside. He'll be the leader on the outside this time through out of turn 2. And a new race leader, Jaden Porter, at the very front. Big move there by Hill, though. Francisco split up the Murray Reedy Motorsports Chevrolets. It looks like Hill's going to follow his teammate up to the top, try to make a run for the lead back to turn 3 and 4.
A little bit of separation, at least at the moment, between the front 2 and the rest. There you see Tristan Bailey is going to close the gap up. He's got Colin Forster in pursuit. Forster might try and get up there and join his teammates, and as soon as I say that, there he goes. D'Elia follows him. He squeezes into that gap as well, as there's almost a little bit of an incident further in the back, towards the backside of that lead pack. As you see, a lot of strung out. There's actually a very up-formed second pack around the 20th position, kind of at the end of that shot, if you were to look back there, as the front is continuing to get spicy. There you see Forster now to the lead as you get a shot there of the second pack. They're battling away hard, well behind the lead group, as it's Eric Schaefer, your pole sitter, Jesse Freeze in the mix as well. These guys are down in the 20th or so position, and they're kind of staying away from the lead group. And there you see Forster up in the front again, with D'Elia in second. The 1 of Lance Hill is going to be in third. D'Elia getting awfully close to that left rear. That's not something you want to do at these tracks, Kenneth. I know with these cars, it's not as bad as it used to be, as there's contact in the middle field. It's AJ Green. What a save!
And the 48's going to be able to keep it straight, will maintain under Green, and somehow the 48 keeps it collected without any damage. We are going to remain under green for now. The unfortunate thing for green, he's going to get absolutely freight trained by everybody in that second pack. And that has absolutely dissipated the run at the very front. We had a huge line stacked up first all the way through roughly 10th or so, and now that is roughly dissipated here to 28 of Porter to the inside, bringing Christopher Bishop on the back end of this line, and it's Colin Forster still with a head of steam at the very front, and Kevin Dilly at the bush.
Yeah, that was a very odd incident, but kudos to AJ Green on being able to save that one. Not many guys can do that, especially off of turn 4 the way he did. It was awfully impressive stuff by him, and now you see that most of the front of the field is now single file. We'll get a look at it here now as AJ Green, it looks like there's a bit of a stack up. He gets tapped from behind just enough, and right there it looks like he might go around. But what a save, Kenneth. I mean, it's very hard to do that in any car, let alone this one, because of the rack and pinion steering, you know? So it's just, for him to be able to do that, all the credit of the world. That just goes to show the talent behind a series champion.
Locked up the brakes and made it stick, and fortunately nobody else got into him. Meanwhile, we might have a battle for the lead brewing up into turn 3. Lance Hill switches up high. He finds a run from the 96 of Austin Riddy. They'll get to the quarter panel of the 53 in the middle of turn 3, and Lance Hill looking for the lead once more out of turn 4, looking for 70 laps to go, and Colin Forster finds his teammate up top, Lance Hill, to block for the lead.
I think you might want to tell these guys that there is 70 laps to go. They're not racing like it at the moment. They're very aggressive, trading the lead. D'Elia gets squiggly on the inside. That's going to give the outside a lot of momentum. And what you'll notice, Kenneth, is that even when guys are single file, it doesn't exactly lead to them going straight to the bottom and not to the very top. They'll kind of right around that lower dashed white line area. And it's kind of odd, but the reasoning is because of the steering with these race cars. They get kind of loose on the bottom, putting the wheel you do on corner exit, and I guess running that middle line gives you enough stability, and it's low enough on the racetrack where you don't lose the time in the corner. So it's a bit wonky, if you will, because normally with the other race cars, you go all the way to the bottom or even go all the way to the top to make up time. But with these cars, you're just kind of in the middle, and it's kind of odd, but it gives us something different to watch.
Also something to note about these next-gen cars, you look at the front end of Cody Kinsey's machine, that diffuser on the bottom of the race car, that underfloor, which is completely sealed off, very different from the previous generation of Cup cars that we've had on the sim and in real life. One thing that the diffuser and the underbody does is gives you a huge amount of draft on the back end of another car. So you'll see here at these super speedways, you can have a car maybe a couple car lengths back, roughly half a second, and they will immediately get back to the back bumper of somebody in front of them just because the draft and the suck up is so huge. It looks like that can either make or break certain runs, and the whole field wants to settle that out for now. They're all single file in the middle lane of the racetrack, all trying to follow Colin Forster in the 99. So again, similar trend to what we saw at the opening jump of this race. They saw the chaos overcome. They said, all right, let's settle things down. But you never know, Francisco, when somebody wants to make that move, and also when they can gather some people with you, because we're 26 laps in this race. Sure, there's a long way to go, but already in this first stint, you've already set the tone for the competition around you. If you've got teammates, you're probably going to work with them. If you don't have any teammates, you're gaining the respect of those around you. And if you gain enough respect as an independent driver, or even one with teammates in this race, you're going to find a way. From the inside, the outside, find a different lane, and chances are there might be someone going with you. So these drivers have been testing it so far. It looks like right now the testing has stifled for the moment. All single file, Dale line at the top of the racetrack.
That was one thing I was going to say, Kenneth. It looks like this is the universal sign of these guys trying to take it easy. When you go all the way to the wall like that, you're committing to going single file because it's so easy to just turn left and go to the inside and gain a couple of spots, at least immediately before you get help. You see Kinsey's on the bottom, and everyone's just content with running the top. And I know in real life everyone's gotten really sick of being able to see this, especially with the older cars, but being able to do this on the sim is actually kind of fun. It gives plate racing a different perspective because you're up on the wall. You have to make sure you don't hit the wall, and you're also trying to make sure that you're doing everything fine. You can also run a little bit more wide open up there because you're not turning the wheel as much. You can use the banking to your advantage as opposed to on the bottom constantly checking up because of the shorter distance. So it's actually a lot easier to run up here. You do lose a little bit of time depending on how the lines line up and how many guys are in a specific position or not. But this is definitely the preferred line as far as just being able to run and being able to hold the throttle. There you see the second group is going to be on the bottom. at least after the second or third car, there's going to be a lot of checkups as opposed to that first line. And there you see the relative gap from the first pack to the second pack. And they're probably going to maintain for now. If they start gaining, they might move up the racetrack and get a bit of their draft and then go to the bottom and make some moves, because that looks like what they want to do. You see somebody up there went down, but they appear to be on the backside of that lead draft. And doing those kind of moves at the back of the field, it might just invite that second pack back in it.
It already is inviting them. The drivers in that second pack, led by Lawson Peel, they're chopping off laps maybe 2/10 or so faster than these guys in the lead pack running the top. So they're catching already. And that separation by the guys at the back end of this, Christopher Bishop, Brandon Gillis, Cody Kinsey, even a bit of Kevin D'Elia, they're all allowing those drivers in the back to catch up. Maybe gain a bit of draft down the straightaways and just playing that game, making sure this race is not just between this top 10 or so. And by the way, leader of the Dash for Cash right now in terms of the qualifier, the 96 of Austin Reedy. There he is on the inside. Not sure whether this is a move to back out. In fact, it won't be. He's going to bring in his two Murray Reedy Motorsports teammates. And Francisco, we have a battle for the lead again on the back straightaway.
It's only the teammates, though. You see, the second pack is kind of caught up, but there's just no momentum at the front of the field. So the top 5 or so, at least at the moment, is going to go up there. But Lance Hill's going to move down, so that's going to change everything. He abandons that 99. Lance Hill's going to go to the front of the field. Is he getting pushed in the middle of the corner? Jaden Porter now to try and give a push to the back of the 99. As you see now, the pack is fully formed up with, it was a little bit of contact at the front of the field with Lance Hill and Colin Forster. They're all going to save it. But that you see right there, it's going to ruin the outside lane's momentum. Jaden Porter's going to get shuffled out in this as he tried to avoid the 99. But instead, they're all going to follow Forrester, and that's going to leave the 28 out once again.
Colin Forrester was dead sideways with the one of Lance Hill in the front of the field. Luckily, they both save it, but look how much distance it is put between first and fourth. Lance Hill, Austin Reedy, Tristan Bailey in a 3-car train back to turn 3. Curtis Kelly getting a wiggle off of a push from the 91 of Adam Alashire. We are side by side for the inside of the top 5. We'll see how long it takes before this pack catches up to the top 3 over the front. I do want to also mention as well, Francisco, you look at the front end of this Chevrolet Camaro, and for 2023, Chevrolet has updated the nose of this car. They did the same thing for the Ford Mustang and the Toyota Camry, but the one thing to note about this Camaro nose, it's less pointy than what it used to be when it was the first year of the next gen in 2022. They also smoothed out a lot of the ridges on the front end that made it look more aggressive on track, but for aerodynamic purposes and probably for purposes of the super speedway, they're also just smoothing the nose, making sure that pushes to the back bumper are as efficient as possible. They did this with the Gen 6 in 2021, or in 2020 rather. They're doing it again for the next gen in 2023, so that's also something big to note as well. Just noticing the amount of bow ties we have at the front of the field.
Yeah, there's a lot of Chevrolets up at the front right now. A lot of the Toyotas and Fords are kind of a little bit further back. In fact, it's basically a find one if you can. There's a Ford a little bit further back there. I believe it's the 93 of Kinsey. You have to go way outside the top 10. There you see another Ford right there. That's going to be the number 75 or 71 of Curtis Kelly, I believe. No, that is not Curtis Kelly. My apologies. But there's a Ford right there. It is Vizzuti. I couldn't tell the number with the way the orange blended into the side, but there you see Vizzuti, Ford Mustang. There you see another Ford, actually 2 cars behind him as well. So it's mostly Chevrolets and a couple of Fords sprinkled in. And unfortunately for me anyways, no Toyota representation up at the front. The only Toyota that was up there earlier in this race was the 20 of Rodney Roberts. He's currently back in the field after being involved in the most recent yellow. There you see, or actually he's right there. He's right there. He's trying to work his way back into the front with the same car he got involved in that wreck with, the 21 of Xander Short, who's also a Ford. So a couple of Fords and 1 Toyota sprinkled into this lead group of about 20 or so cars, but the majority, I'd say at least 15, is definitely Chevrolet.
You know, I don't think I'd be complaining at all to see a lot of these Chevrolet Camaros up at the very front of the field.
Of course not.
Nonetheless, not a lot of Fords, not a lot of Toyotas. In fact, Rodney Roberts is the only Toyota in this field. He is 2 laps down in 31st. Remember that crash that he got involved in, pulled it behind the wall. Luckily, the good thing for Roberts is he is the only car 1 lap down or more. So if a caution does come out, he is guaranteed the free pass around the field, and he can get another one, and he'll be back on the lead lap in no time. 2 drivers trying to make it work on the outside are 2 Chevrolet Camaros, though. That starts with the 99 of Colin Forrester, Jaden Porter to give support on the outside. And this is where you're experimenting, Francisco. How many drivers are willing to go up with you? Right now, the answer for Forrester is only that 28, and they immediately back out. They have no help.
Yeah, at some point the guys are going to decide to just stay single file, or guys just don't want to do what you're doing. They might let you go up there and experiment, do what you want, but they're not going to go with you. They'll let you do what you want. But right now, you see most of the field is single file. We're about closing in on 20 laps or so into this run. So I'd say we're within about 10 laps of potentially seeing some pit stops. Some guys pitted. Most of the field did come down the last time, which was around the lap 14 or so mark. So within the next 10 laps, most of the field will be coming down pit road. That's why they're on the bottom of the racetrack right now, especially. So we'll look to see what exactly goes on. We'll see if teammates try and pit a little bit earlier. I do know one thing, Kenneth, that is traditional super speedways. The undercut is very powerful. Doesn't matter which car you race at. If you can pit a lap or two earlier, especially with your group, and get lined up as soon as you exit pit road, it is a huge advantage. I'm not sure why specifically. It doesn't matter what you take. If everybody takes 4, everybody takes 2, if everybody takes none, you always just get a little bit faster. I'm not sure why that's the case. You get in first, you get out, and you're able to get up to speed. But the case is, if you can do that, it'll give yourself the potential track position.
And it's very important. Track position is going to be big, especially when you thin the field out more. You don't have as big of a pack as you would right now, even though the entire field is all single file as of lap 36. The other point to bring up about pitting under green, if we end up in that scenario, never mind, we have a crash in turn 4, and once more, it's the 12 of Lawson Peel. He goes head on into the outside safer barrier, and I believe this should be the dagger that cuts Lawson Peel's race for the Dash for Cash and for the win of this race short. His car toasted, billowing smoke at the entrance of pit road.
I believe he already used that faster pair, Kenneth, and you see the smoke there. It's not a good sign, and it looked like that's exactly what happened. There was a move being made at the middle of the field, and we talked about it. They're going to be pit stops soon. Will guys try and get aggressive? You see a lot of the field was very slow. He's going to move up, and it looks like, just a bit of a bad tap there. And my goodness, that is a hard hit into the outside wall. We've seen a couple of hard hits in turn 4 on these super speedways. Just head on like that is not good. We're right on board with him. You talked about a couple laps ago, Kenneth, how they smoothed out the noses, but that time just not smooth enough. The contact between him and the left, just enough to send him around a little bit. Offsets him. Freeze keeps the same momentum, obviously not realizing that the 12 was sideways. Gets on the opposite side, and it hooks him right into the wall.
Tough impact there for the 12 of Lawson Peel. Look on board with Jesse Freeze, who was giving this push, and Peel, who was riding roughly 14th or so in that single file train at the bottom, finally decided to make a move up top. And Jesse Freeze gets a bit of the left front damage from hitting the outside wall, and of course, getting that piece of the 12 that went skating down to the apron exit turn 4, and Lawson Peel's race is going to be over. You mentioned Francisco. He did burn up that faster pair after the second incident, and so the 12 of Peel might just be out of this race, and the 3-time winner will not be able to make it 4 here from Talladega. Field is on pit road, and I guess the fortunate thing for most of the field, Francisco, is that we've seen these cautions split up these medium-long runs, so you don't have to deal with the headache of coming down pit road under green and finding people to go with you, exiting with the group, and then trying to figure out whether an overcut or an undercut is more viable in terms of track position. The entire field gets to be on level playing field, some taking tires, some not. We'll see who wins the race.
Most of the field did take fuel. As you see now, it's going to be Austin Reedy and Tristan Bailey leading the field off of pit road. And you see a little bit further back, a couple of cars that did take tires are losing a couple of positions. Not many, but it does give them a little bit more of security under this green flag run that we're about to hopefully go on to once again. So we'll see what these guys do. And once again, it's those Murray Motorsports guys. They're trying to be aggressive and gain the track position. Tyler Murray a little bit down the order, not exactly up there with his teammates. Kyle Benson somewhere in the middle of this field. There you see him right, or a little bit further back from Colin Forrester. But they got 2 at the front right now with Austin Reedy and Tristan Bailey. Jason Hastings has found his way up to 3rd after being involved in that first yellow on the opening lap, Kenneth. So used that fast repair, and now he's up into 3rd.
Nice run for Jason Hastings. This might be the turnaround he'd been looking for, and we talked about him at Daytona, putting up a fantastic run, entered the top 5, and then got turned into the outside wall. I'd like to call that scenario the worst set of commentators jinx I've ever said in my entire life, because I remember praising his run of the top 5. As soon as I finished that sentence, the millisecond after I stopped talking, Hastings ended up into the outside wall. We were on board with him when that happened, so I'd like to send my apologies for Jason Hastings. I do not want to jinx him this time by. Hastings is third, though, when we get to the green flag.
You know, you mentioned the commentator's jinx. I think the biggest one that comes to my mind, and I think you'll remember this immediately, was Joe Sanchez. Back in season 2, I believe it was, season 2 at Kansas. In the midst of, yes, it was at Kansas, and they were battling for a couple of positions inside the top 5 with, I believe it was the 18 car. I'm not exactly sure who drove it at the moment. It was definitely a while back. And I was talking about what a save he made on the front straightaway, and then off of turn 2, going down into turn 3, he gets clipped going into turn 3, I believe that's how it went anyways, and he gets stuck into the wall, and it shoots him up about 50 feet in the air, and I felt horrible for that. I said, what a save. You do that, you're able to save the race car, and you can keep on battling. As soon as I finish that, he's 50 feet above the ground. This ain't good, like Talladega Nights.
That's the worst thing about being a commentator. I think if anybody wants to get in this business, whether it's sim or reality, is you never know. When you say something praising a driver, or you say something is not going to happen, or you're putting out the existence of something in any sport, and then it immediately happens right after, it is the worst feeling to have, especially in the case of you're praising a driver, you're trying to credit their accomplishment or what they've been able to do in a race or a season, and then all of a sudden it turns around in the blink of an eye. So we did also have a turnaround in the blink of an eye for Jason Hastings. I mentioned he was going to be third on the restart. He has decided to come down pit road. So I guess commentators jinx in a different way. This will bring third to Adam Alashire in the 91, and your leader still, of course, Austin Reedy. He'll be joined alongside by his teammate in Tristan Bailey. We've seen a lot of strength out of Murray Reedy Motorsports tonight. They've been separated a couple of times, but they found a way to find each other on the racetrack. We'll see if they do it again. And my biggest wonder is what Colin Forrester, Lance Hill, what those guys are going to do when we drop the green. They're also relatively separated, so you may see them find each other on the track as well. And also, Forrester has a Stonks Motorsports teammate behind him in the 48 of AJ Green. So who knows? You never quite know what's going to happen with these drivers and what lanes they're going to choose by the time we get back to green. If you are any one of these Murray Reedy Motorsports drivers up front, Francisco, or most notably if you're Austin Reedy, do you want to pull out ahead of the 24, lead that inside lane with the 2 cars up front, or do you want to gridlock and at least hold the lead of the inside and the outside when you go green?
Well, considering the 96 was the leader of the race, at least he exited pit road in first, he chose the outside perhaps because he does want to get down in front of that 24. So we'll see if that's exactly what plays out. I believe that's what they want to do if that's the way they lined up after the positions they were in. So we'll get a look at that on the restart. I'm also going to be on the train of, I think Jason Hastings pitted there to avoid the commentator's jinx to begin with. He kind of canceled it out by putting himself in the back and making sure nothing happens here. I think he probably heard you say that, and he's like, I don't want that to happen to me. So now he's going to give himself a brand new opportunity starting at the back.
Well, we'll see what the 49 can do. He's going to be on the inside by the time we get back to green flag racing. Meanwhile, up at the front of the field into the Geico restart zone to complete lap number 39 and cross to lap 40. Austin Reedy in the 96 gets the green flag. He'll duck in front of his teammate Tristan Bailey to turn 1.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said would go on if that's the way they chose, considering the order. You see, though, it does leave you a little bit susceptible to the outside lane if they get a good enough launch. You see the 91 of Alashire there. There's the 10 of Benson, a teammate of those two up in the front. He's kind of in a sandwich between a couple of Trackhouse cars himself. He's got Colin Forrester behind with that. Alashire leading that line, and they're side by side for the top spot. Alashire at least trying to stay to the outside of that 96. He won't be able to do so, not for the moment anyways. And Jaden Porter's just kind of there in the middle. You see all these Murray Motorsports cars, a couple of Trackhouse cars, a couple of other race cars, whose team name I can't remember, but they're all in the front, and then you have Jaden Porter just kind of there. So he's hoping not to get shuffled out once again. As you see across the line, Austin Reedy still holding the lead. Those two on the outside trying to find a way to get by them, and also just to kind of make up for my apologies. It was the wrong team I had said. It was definitely the Trackhouse cars.
You also see the 10 of Kyle Benson. I was wondering whether that was a ploy by the drivers up the front of the field for Murray Reedy Motorsports, whether they wanted to open the door for Benson to make it 3 cars at the front. Benson finds space down low. He'll get in behind the 28 of Jaden Porter, so he'll ditch Adam Alashire on the outside. Roughly 5 cars up at the top of the racetrack trying to make something work. and it looks like it is all for naught. Porter sneaking up high, can't find momentum, and so he'll stay to the inside. Second pack developing with Brandon Gillis back in P14, but Austin Riddy leads him back to the line, lap 42, and Porter looks up top.
He sees the run the 91 has. He's going to go up, and this time they won't leave him out. Alshire will give him the push. You see, it does stack up the line, though, and that's why the 53 goes to the bottom. But eventually that momentum's going to get there. You see Porter now trying to get to the outside of that Bud Light machine of the number 10 of Kyle Benson, and he's going to have a run. We'll see if he can get up to second. You see right there, Bailey gives a push to the 96 as soon as the 28 gets one himself, and it kind of stalls out. So now he has to make sure he side drafts the 10. It's a tough spot to be in. If they are able to get a push at the same time you get pushed, it just negates your progress. And at that point, your biggest concern, side draft the car next to you so that they don't get clear. If they get clear, they're immediately going to close the gap on the top two. So right there, you see actually gets a run in the middle of the trial. But he's now side by side with the second place car, the 24. If he can side draft him, that'll put him in a good spot to try and challenge Austin Reedy. But you see going into the corner, just loses too much ground as Bailey's able to give a huge push to the 96. It'll also get 10 clear.
They just have strength in numbers on the bottom. The 28 is going to try to side draft the 99 coming out of turn 2. Looks like it won't happen. He'll get a big wiggle, though. Almost lost the race car off of that push from Alshire on the back straightaway. And so that'll settle them out further back, possibly in the top 5 in that battle. Still even with the 99 of Forster. But for right now, it is a Murray Reedy Motorsports 1, 2, 3. Reedy, Bailey, and Benson up at the very front. Porter trying to find help. He wiggles the race car again, and that outside line fizzles out. Maybe revived again. Here comes Forster with help from Lance Hill.
That's what they were waiting for, the opportunity to get to the outside. A couple of teammates will do so. So you have one team on the outside, another team on the bottom, and it was Jaden Porter who got a badge, who got out of shape there in the middle of 3 and 4, which separated the front of the pack as you're on board now with Forster, trying to see if he can help those teammates to the front. Oh, big moment right there as he's going to go to the inside. Almost contact with those 3 as you see D'Elia now to the bottom. Porter's going to get back up to second, and Forster almost gets spun out from leading the field. He's going to get the push from Jaden Porter. They're going to stack up on the outside once again. Kenneth, this front of the pack is now down to about 10 or so cars, but they're racing just as aggressively.
And they were casually 3 wide on the back straightaway. Kevin D'Elia found a way under Lance Hill. You were riding on board with his Chevy Camaro, and now they're failing out again. Here comes Lance Hill to the bottom. He'll join the 99 on the inside of the racetrack with Adam Alshire to follow. They'll leave the 28 of Jaden Porter left all by himself. And now we wonder what the Murray Reedy Motorsports cars might do now that Tristan Bailey has been moved out of the picture. Leader on the outside, this time by Kevin D'Elia. Alshire notices the run. He tries to give some draft. They're going to wiggle on the back straightaway. And here comes Austin Reedy back for the middle inside the top 5.
They're racing very aggressively. I don't think they realize it's only halfway. They have to still do another 40 or 5 or so laps in this race before they can even try and battle for the win. And we've already gone on another about 15 laps on this run since the yellow has come out. So we're getting pretty up there. Hopefully, I didn't just jinx that with a potential caution, but with the way they're racing, it might just happen as you see a big moment there for the 96 of Austin Reedy. What a fantastic save. And he's now going to stay behind the 1 of Lance Hill. Kenneth, I don't think when the pack was this huge, they were racing like this. I think they're a bit more confident, realizing how small it is.
This is the most aggressive we've seen the field all race long, and that was almost a bit of contact. Could have easily turned into catastrophe between the 1 of Lance Hill and the 96 of Austin Reedy. Reedy with a big push from the 10 of Kyle Benson. 4 cars up at the top and make it 5 or 6 down low on the bottom. It's going to work to their favor on the bottom inside turn 3. And it's all going to be for naught on the outside. Porter's going to ditch that group, make it 3 cars, and it's only MRMS at the top of the racetrack. Meanwhile, second pack behind Kevin D'Elia, formed with Tristan Bailey, or rather Tyler Warner in the number 33. There they are, single file. Remember, we talked about, Francisco, the quickness of that inside lane. As soon as everybody at the front, that lead pack, started on the outside or even battling with each other, we may see the drivers like Warner, maybe like Tyler Murray, AJ Green, all these guys buried back in the field. They might have something to say for this group. It's getting a little skirmish up at the front.
That's actually not the case, Kenneth. Not right now. In the last lap or so, or last 5 laps, they've been losing half to 3/4 of a second each lap, even with the field racing as aggressively as they are. So I'm not sure what it is, what's in the oil of these race cars, but they're definitely.
Oh,
And there goes
Porter!
Jaden Porter around hard into the wall. We got a big crash. One is on his side.
Bishop on the outside wall, sideways on 2 wheels.
He's stuck.
And he'll land on all 4s by the time he gets to that apron transition. Austin Reedy involved. Jaden Porter got spun in the front pack, and caution is out. Lap 47.
You could tell eventually it was going to happen. It was just racing so aggressively for so long. And it happens in a rather tame way. You see the 96 once again just kind of gets into the wrong spot, and Bishop unfortunately gets tapped in just the worst spot, goes head on into the wall, and kind of gets stuck on his side. I can't remember what crash it was here, Kenneth. You might remember it. It was an Xfinity race here where a car got stuck on his side on that same part of the racetrack. It might have been Brad Keselowski, but there you see right there, just gets hooked and into the wall. Car goes under. That actually looks more similar to Jeff Gordon's 2012 Budweiser shootout wreck, except he didn't continuously do a barrel roll at this point of the wreck. But that looks awfully similar to that same crash. But unfortunately, that's one of the Dash for Cash contenders. The good thing, he still has the fast repair, so he's still in this race. But watch this. This is not a pretty view.
Oh, that is right up against that outside safety barrier. That is not a good view from the inside of the race car. And the 42 luckily escapes, I think, terminal damage to that race car, despite being put in that situation. By the way, 2 Murray Reedy Motorsports cars involved in that caution. Kyle Benson, Austin Reedy, the 96 and the 10. It's the first time either of them are involved in a crash, and also with Reedy and Bishop, both of them driving for the Dash for Cash qualifier, so a little bit of drama there as well. Meanwhile, Colin Forster has a lap 48 under this caution, going to bring the entire field down for pit road service, and once again, we're going to harp on the same point that I made a little earlier on in our last caution, Francisco, the fact that these guys really haven't had to worry about a proper long green flag run with long green flag stretches and green flag pit stops. You're only worrying. Lance Hill's going to get turned in the middle of pit road. What has happened there? That was Cody Kinsey that got into him. I was about to mention the fact that we've had so many medium-sized runs and then cautions in between and some drama already on pit road. Lance Hill gets turned around. Will that be a penalty? Now, what has happened here?
Sorry, I was dealing with technical difficulties there for a moment, but I can't say I've seen this before. Not here, not in any track. At least in this league, this is definitely a first. Get a second look at it. My screen was kind of partially blocked, so I couldn't see exactly how it happened. I just saw the cars going around. So there you see cars exiting pit road. Cars are still coming in. And right there, I'm not sure if Kinsey's pit stall was right then and there, and he's to the left of the one. And he just kind of misjudges it, perhaps, I must say. He kind of just gets in there. So there you see Hill's coming out. He's actually going to get with him. I think the 21 realizes that because it looks like he tries to slow down, but he just misjudges it, gets into him, then gets hit from behind, and a couple other cars get involved. So tough break for both of them on pit road. And I mean, we've talked about pitting under green, the danger on the racetrack. The last thing you expect is chaos on pit road under caution, at least exiting pit road, not entering.
We've never seen that before, at least not for a while, that pit road drama. That third car who got into it was Curtis Kelly. It was minimal damage for all 3 of them, so obviously none of them going to be back on pit road for extra damage repair, but it is rather interesting to see that happen and just miscommunication on the pit stall. I think really the first time, Francisco, we've seen that amount of miscommunication on pit road. Fortunately, throughout the entire season, we've seen a lot of clean instances on the pit lane. A lot of these drivers know where they're at. They don't end up hitting each other, and then they end up okay. They all make their pit stalls, and then we get our pit road analysis and who takes tires, who takes fuel, and all of that. But Lance Hill, with that incident, going to drop all the way back to P12 on the racetrack. He'll be behind Brandon Gillis in P11. So Hill's going to get separated from that lead pack he had been fighting so aggressively with in that last run. And I'm going to turn back to my point before I got interrupted by that situation. The fact that these guys haven't had to deal with long green flag runs and green flag pit stops. Is this something that as a driver you're going to want to expect for the rest of the race for the next 44? Or are you still having that in the back of your mind and still having that blueprint, that plan, just in case?
You have to be ready for anything, really. And especially with the way this race has gone to this point, there's moments of calmness, moments of aggression, moments of danger, especially on pit road. So I think at this point, at least being on lap 50, there's still a pretty decent ways to go. There's still a lot that can happen in this race, and still opportunity for a lot of drivers. Most of the field is still on the lead lap, of course, so they'll still have time. I think one important thing to also make note of, Kenneth, is that at least in sim right now, it is 5 o'clock. Now we won't have any dangers of running out of sunlight, but it is later in the day than we normally have ran this race. Usually in the past, we've had this race closer to noon. So the track right now is significantly cooler than what we're used to. You have a cloud cover as well. I think that the track temperature being much cooler is allowing guys to be a little bit more aggressive and make some moves. And it's also why we're seeing a little bit quicker lap times than what we normally see.
So we'll get a restart here at lap number 51 of 94, heading into the final leg of this race from Talladega Superspeedway. Of course, glad that you're with us here on MaxSpeedTV. Francisco Bacalhau and Kenneth Bueno with you for the ride. And it's Colin Forster at the head of the field when we get back to the restart zone. Adam Alashire will follow suit on the inside of row number 1. Curtis Kelly and Kevin D'Elia going to be 3rd and 4th when we drop the green. Inside top 5 is going to be AJ Green. And how about league owner Tyler Murray in the 16? We haven't seen him all race long. He's one of those drivers eligible for the Dash for Cash. So he might make some moves here in the closing laps of this race and might make something happen. He's been conservative all race through this point. And so we may see him turn up the intensity as the pace car makes that left to pit road. And it's going to be 2 bow ties at the front of the field. Colin Forster gives the field a long wait before the Geico restart zone. And he'll be the first to hop on the gas pedal and bring us back to action again at lap number 51. Forster inside the restart zone. He hops up and away. We're back under green from Talladega.
He's going to get it clear if he chooses to go down. That is the teammate he has down there. So far, he doesn't go down there. Alashire is going to get back to the inside with help from D'Elia. There you see Curtis Kelly. He's going to give a push to the back of Forster. And there's only really 3 cars up there on the outside lane being tailed by AJ Green. There's Tyler Murray with help from Joe Sanchez to try and really help that inside lane. And you see the inside has way more cars than the outside's kind of in 2 halves. You see, I think that was Andrew Short. Make a move to the outside, hoping to try and catch up to these guys, but they'll probably duck down. There you see Curtis Kelly. He does exactly that. He's going to move to the inside, and I believe he might get close to clearing Forster. I don't think he'll quite get there. He doesn't have enough of a run. You see guys getting squirrely on that inside line, but side by side for the lead, Curtis Kelly on the inside trying to take it away, and he will.
8 cars on the outside, make that 3 more, maybe even 4. I see Lance Hill leading a group of cars on the outside. They might catch the draft of the 9. In fact, they will. They'll bring in Xander Short, Cody Ivey, and how about some more? CJ Munier and Tyler Warner are going to make it a formidable outside charge. Forster clears ahead for the race lead at a turn 2, and here comes AJ Green back for the taking.
In about half a lap, the outside lane became completely formed up, and now we have a full pack, a healthy pack, if you will. And now it's AJ Green. As you see, I think that's Tristan Bailey in the back kind of bailing out there, falling a little bit towards the back. And there you see the 9 of Brandon Gillis, Kenneth. We haven't seen much out of him in the recent weeks. He still shows up to these super speedways. It's one of his opportunities to show up and get some time on the air here at the front, and he's doing just that. At least right now, he's inside the top 5.
We've seen a lot of good things out of Brandon Gillis in the number 9 car. You're riding on board with this Square Enix Ford Mustang from the start-finish line back to turn 1. Biggest memory I have of Brandon Gillis at the Super Speedway, ARCA at Daytona. We covered the ARCA series on the K1 Racing Network last season, and Brandon Gillis had the ride of his life, the run of his career in that race. Almost had a shot at the race win. Unfortunately, got taken out near the end. But Brandon Gillis is a super speedway racer to watch. He hasn't been flashy. He's not necessarily the most aggressive, but he can show up when it matters most. He's got a huge push from Lance Hill entering turn 3. He'll even out with AJ Green heading for turn 4. The Ford Mustang might give us another new race leader, with the 48 going to maintain out front for now. Green going to stay down low. See 1 car 3rd up on the outside. That is Jaden Porter, that Ally Chevrolet. We've seen him try to make multiple lanes work all race through to this point, and it has not come to success. This time by, he'll shuffle in behind the 24 of Tristan Bailey. We head for 40 laps to go, and a bit of wiggling on the inside leaves the apron loose and dissipated. At a turn 2, Gillis makes contact with Curtis Kelly. They'll go sideways and around on the back straightaway. Gillis slaps the inside, safe for barrier. And once more, caution flag is out. Adam Alshire, Curtis Kelly, Brandon Gillis, the trio involved.
Yeah, it was unfortunate for Gillis. As soon as he gets up to the front, it looks like the push gone wrong. And that's kind of been the way these wrecks have been going on today, Kenneth. If you notice, it's been a trend of pushing on the wrong way. We'll get a look at it once more just to make sure that's exactly what we saw. We're going to look at the top 4 or so cars. So there you see the one. He's going to push that 9, and it's just off to the left side, gets him sideways. Contact with Kelly sets them both apart, and then eventually sends them both spinning hard into the inside wall. Fortunately, he missed the opening, which would have made it a lot worse, but still heavy damage to his race car. And once again, it's just a push gone wrong. Curtis Kelly had nothing to do with the initial contact with Gillis. It's just right there. Gets onto the left rear. It's just enough contact, and then right there, boom, around he goes. Alshire, an innocent victim. If we've talked about it before, Kenneth, you mentioned it, the noses have been rounded. I think now, I don't think I've seen a race have this many issues with cars getting spun. I know a lot of it has to do with them being the left rear, but it is still just contentious enough that it's been going on a lot more than we're used to seeing.
You see the hard slam into the inside wall by Brandon Gillis. Good news for him is he has yet to burn off that fast repair. He does have some totaling damage. I think he did tow the Ford Mustang to pit road, so not good news for the 9 of Brandon Gillis. For the 71 and the 91, Curtis Kelly and Adam Alshire. It looks like both of them are going to be able to carry on without any significant problems to their race cars. And that's probably one of the toughest places, Francisco, on a super speedway to give a push. Exit of the corner when you're rising out of the banking, and especially at these super speedways with this car, where this car can snap loose when you're in the midst of an aero pack and you're in the middle of the draft, and even if you're getting pushed down in front, you can get that car unsettled, and it's very hard to save. And we saw it right there, just a push at the wrong time. Obviously, nothing intentional by Lance Hill. He's just trying to get Gillis to the race lead, but unfortunately, it got Gillis out of shape. He tagged into the 71, had a couple of cars in it. We saw a fantastic avoidance, though, as AJ Green leads him off pit road by Joe Sanchez in the 55. He had been lining up the second pack throughout that entire run, and he had somehow made his way through all the mess. We'll see if we can find a way to get an onboard cam with that number Cookout 50, or rather number 55 Cookout machine of Sanchez, who now is inside the top 10. An unbelievable way to cut through all the madness on the back straightaway and gets away from potential damage. We'll see on board here with the number 55. He's riding behind Tyler Warner, a couple of car lengths behind this mess, and watch this. Right through the middle.
Just enough. I think he liked the script on that one, that he was able to miss it. So Joe Sanchez lives to fight another day, keeps the clean race car, and he's going to be somewhat inside the top 10. So he stays alive, and right now we're starting to get close to the end of the race. You can see there's still a bit of ways to go, just under 40 laps to go. But the way you can tell, the way guys know it's time to go is when that sun starts to get lower. It looks a little bit brighter outside. Like I said, not going to be a problem as far as temperature, or as far as running out of daylight. I see the track temperature down at 80 degrees. It started at 91 when we took the green flag, which is already a rather late time for, like I said, from what we're used to doing. Normally we've done these races at around 12 or 1 o'clock in sim, which is right in the middle of the day for iRacing Day, May 15th. So right now, it being 5 or just past 5 o'clock anyways, it is starting to get late out there, and the sun will be in a lower spot. It is approximately 5:17. The end of this race will be close to perhaps 5:30, 45, or even 6 o'clock. Again, not an issue as far as daylight, but when the sun gets low like that, I know you as a driver, Kenneth, probably don't have as much experience with this, but when that sun starts to set and the end of the race is nearing, it just builds an extra factor to it, an extra visual factor that you just know it's go time.
It definitely is. Have 2 cars staying out, 2 Ford Mustangs. Cody Ivey and Nicholas Vizzuti will try to get the 1 green signal from the iRacing official pace car. But until then, we'll take a short break, but you won't miss a thing. We continue our coverage of Race 9 in Season 5 of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series from the virtual Talladega Super Speedway.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Both go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Back live from the virtual Talladega Super Speedway for Race 9 in Season 5 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. Kenneth Bueno and Francisco Bacallao to bring you along for the action here on MaxSpeedTV. Cody Ivey and Nicholas Vizzuti are ready to bring us back to green flag action. Just had a multi-car accident on the back straightaway involving the number 91 of Adam Alashire, the number 71 of Curtis Kelly, and the 9 of Brandon Gillis. So we've had a lot of changes to the front of the field, and we're probably going to see a lot more entering the final 35 laps of this race. And Cody Ivey, for the first time in this entire event, will have command at the front of the field, will have the cleanest air out of everyone else behind him. Pace car will make that left to the entrance of pit road once again in this event, and the 81 of Cody Ivey will lead us down to that Geico restart zone. He'll go whenever he pleases. He'll have AJ Green to support behind, Lance Hill to give the push to the 75 of Nicholas Vizzuti. So Cody Ivey inside the Geico restart zone. He'll decide when to hop on the gas pedal. He does so now. Two prancing horses lead us back to green from Talladega.
With the Chevy Brigade to a small extent, you're going to be down to the inside line immediately and take cover to try and see if they can take control of this race. Of course, they're going to have less fuel than the rest of the field, but if the cautions come out at the right time, like they have for the most part, they might be able to get lucky and pit under a yellow flag and be able to get that service. See the outside lane, they're all drifting up, and it started with Xander Short a little bit back there, and a couple guys moved up in front of him as well. There you see the 16 of Taylor Murray, just behind the 48 of AJ Green. They're trying to make some moves to get up there, and they'll be side by side for the lead. AJ Green with a bit of a shot right there. Tyler Murray being very aggressive on the push. There you see Xander, followed by Joe Sanchez but at wreck avoidance, he's going to find himself up and almost into the top 5. Green gets pushed into the lead, but he immediately goes down the racetrack to cover the bottom. That allows the 16 of Tyler Murray to get up to the front, and allows Xander Short now to lead the outside lane.
48 of AJ Green got put in a precarious situation on the trial. Well, got sort of moved out of the way by the 16, had nowhere to go, so found the bottom, but the 16 moves in front of the 48. He takes the race lead, and rookie Xander Short will try to take command of the race at a turn 2. Side by side for the lead on the back straightaway. Joe Sanchez, the second car on line, and how about the battle for the Dash for Cash? Sanchez, Murray, and CJ Munier all inside the top 5.
Push there by AJ Green is going to get the 16 back out in front. Xander almost got clear. Just enough push by the 48 gets the 16 clear, and you see he got a little bit of a gap now. We'll see if Joe Sanchez can give the 21 help to get back up there. I believe he's side by side with him on score. He's edging ahead once again. I think he's got it this time. He's going to go down the racetrack, keep him off, but that is going to expose Joe Sanchez, and now Joe will get to the outside of the rookie.
And the rookie Short will go to the bottom. He'll take the race lead, but not for long. Here comes Sanchez on the outside, and more Chevrolet Camaros to give assistance. How about Tyler Warner in the 33 in this group as well? Tristan Bailey, who's been involved in a couple of accidents tonight, he's in this group. And third line developing, one black car at the very top, going to back out. And that was Brandon Banks in the 54. And now here comes Warner to the inside for second.
It's been a while since that 33 has been in victory lane, Kenneth. It's been almost about 3 full seasons since he's gone to victory lane. The opener in Season 2 at Daytona. And guess what? He finds himself at the front of the field right now. So how about it for Tyler Warner? He's been able to make the right moves. He's currently in the top 5. They see him leading the bottom lane, trying to get up there and battle with Joe Sanchez. So Tyler Warner, if he can hold on for the next 33 laps, he could have a chance to end that really long winless streak.
You brought back those memories of Daytona where he handled the strategy the right way, played the pack game the right way as well in the final 15 laps, and was able to take that checkered flag away. It has been so long since we've seen this 33 grace victory lane, but he's got a battle on his hands. He's got a big push from Tristan Bailey. He's wiggled twice on the track, back straightaway, heading for turn 3. And they're going to hand the momentum off to the outside lane, led by the 55 of Sanchez, fresh off that win a couple of weeks back at the Richmond Raceway, the short track, his first one of the calendar, and looking for win number 2 as he holds the lead. CJ Munier to help.
Joe Sanchez is no stranger to victory lane here as well. He went to victory lane in the playoff race back in season 3. We didn't cover that race, but he did win that race, the second to last race of the playoffs. So he knows how to get it done around this track. I believe he's also won an ARCA race after avoiding several crashes on the last lap. So he has won here. He has experience here. So Joe Sanchez, one of the guys to watch out for as we're starting to get close to the end of this race. He knows how to get it done at Talladega. We're approaching 32 laps to go once we complete this lap, and you can see that middle line, that middle outside lane is starting to prevail a little bit, guys. They're starting to get separation up there. No one has really ducked down, not yet anyways, but that's where the gap is going to be, and you see a little bit further back, some 3 wide, Jaden Porter up on the outside.
Jaden Porter stuck up top. I think the second time in the last 20 or so laps we've seen that happen to the Ally Chevrolet. You think about the driver in the race lead right now, Joe Sanchez, who has been part of a DBR 3 in a row. In the last 3 races, the other driver in that group, Daniel Michel, the third driver in it, Lawson Peel, but one that has not found victory lane is the 54 of Brandon Banks. He's been in the Championship 5 many times consecutively in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. He's also the defending winner here at Talladega Super Speedway, so if there's anything to say, it's that DBR is fighting back, and they've got numbers at the front of the field back to turn 3.
They do, and indeed, if you look a little bit further back, the 93 of Cody Kinsey, who's involved in that pit road miscue, he's up in the top 5 right now. He's trying to see if he can get himself into a solid enough spot. You see the inside lane now being led. I believe it's Tristan Bailey, or excuse me, that's not Tristan Bailey. That's going to be 10 of Kyle Benson that's leading the inside lane. He's trying to find himself back to the front. Bailey's still back, and there you see Lance Hill now leading that third line on the outside. He's got a big run. He's going to try and get to the outside of Michel. Michel will go with the block. He's going to block Lance Hill, and now he moves up to the outside lane, trying to see if he can find some forward momentum up there. We'll see what they're able to do on the straightaway as you see that middle line kind of stops the outside lane down the back straightaway. That should help those 3 or 4 cars up there. You see they don't have a lot of room, but that is going to help Michel basically gain about 10 spots just with that little move.
And Michel goes to the middle. Smart move by the Camaro. He'll stack up, though, with the 93 and the 54. That could have almost been large, similar to that first lap incident we had on the back straightaway. Luckily, they will all single train out. We maintain under green, and Kyle Benson takes over the race lead in the middle of the trial. We have 3 wide inside the top 5, back to turn 1.
A little bit more casual 3 wide right now, and they're a little bit more comfortable with it. You can see they're giving a lot of room, at least for now. And that third lane is working just enough, has just enough people and enough momentum on the straightaways to stay alive. As you see now, as we come off turn 2, if those 2 on the front get enough of a push, it really helps them down the back straightaway. That banking, look what it does. It just gives the momentum all the way down up until the push. You see the inside lane is just getting absolutely left in the dust. Sanchez getting a big push by CJ Munier. Lance Hill, though, he's trying to creep up there, and he's almost got it. The inside lane is almost entirely gone.
And the 10 of Kyle Benson trying all that he can. Now he'll have a newcomer in front of him. That's his teammate, the 96 of Austin Riddy, but they have spread out amongst themselves that it has really been tough to catch any sort of draft or any type of momentum. Now it's the middle and the outside going at it for the lead. Lance Hill with a big push from his Trackhouse teammate in the 91 of Alishire. We have a battle for P1, turn 1.
And Jaden Porter started fine. He was getting left out almost in the 20th spot about 3 laps ago, and now he's helping the 2 in front of him get to the front of the field, and they're all going to get to the front of this field because there you see the outside lane has a lot of momentum, and they're now
making 5 cars clear at the front of the field. Lance Hill going to take control of the lead for now. Tyler Murray deciding whether to go down. He does. He'll follow in the tracks of the 55 of Joe Sanchez. They'll leave Porter as the leader on the outside lane, so bring back the very bottom, and the true bottom at that. Benson, Reedy, and Forster shuffled to the 3 cars in the back of this train, and Lance Hill leads them back to the stripe inside 30 laps to go.
It's not over because Joe Sanchez and CJ Munier once again move up to try and be the first 2 to lead the outside lane. And there you see the 91 is going to jump out in front. The 1 is going to block them both as well. There's going to be a little bit of a stack up going on here in the middle of the field that should offer an advantage to the inside line. And actually, no, Tyler Murray's going to have an issue there. off the corner, loses a lot of momentum. Oh, they're crashing in the back, in the middle of the back straightaway. Xander short into the wall. A couple of cars get hitting each other, but they save it. No cars going around. Actually, there you see a car's around. That's the 93. Kinsey's going to get hit once again. That might bring out the yellow flag. He is stopped, but there's no caution, Kenneth. They're going to keep it green.
No caution. It happens all underneath the racing line, so we will stay green. A heartbreaker for Cody Kinsey, who got loose in the middle of the field. We saw that stack up with the 16 of Tyler Murray. Now the caution comes out, and might be some more problems, I think, with Xander Short. Here's a look at the replay of the 93. He gets into Visuti, who goes hard into the inside safer barrier and pancakes the left side of the Mustang and gets an extra piece of the contact, and I think Xander Short might have just been involved in our most recent caution. There it is, a wobbly right front. So I think that should give you enough evidence. He overshoots his pit stall, and caution is out at lap number 68. Here's how it all started. Short was on the outside of this entire group. Watch here, Kinsey gets into Tristan Bailey, and then bam, into the 21. And as they go sideways, they go 4 wide. And Short is just trying to hold on to what's left of his car. And I'm not sure whether this was the instance that brought us under yellow, or maybe just race control deciding enough was enough.
Yeah, Murray actually was the one who threw out the yellow flag there. So I guess they saw what happened in the 93 sitting on the racetrack, and they decided to just put it out themselves. And you see right there, the one of Lance Hill's kind of stopped on the racetrack. He has the 91 with them. I'm not sure if this is that they're ahead of the pace car.
I think they're waiting for the pace car, yes.
They might be waiting for the pace car because they're basically stopped, and it's just before the pit entry. Of course, they'd like to come down pit road because they'd be able to make it from here, and that's exactly what it is. You see the pace cars coming up. They have to let it go. Fuel is going to catch up, and boom, that's exactly what it was. So they're waiting for the pace car. Now they're going to get the chance to come down pit road. And by everybody topping off here, Kenneth, they do have enough fuel to go the distance and for several overtime attempts. So I think this might be the last time the field is on pit road like this. As Lance Hill actually overshoots his stall. Not sure if he's taking tires. There you see he's taking tires. So he might not have won the race off pit road anyways, but it is going to cost him some positions.
It's going to be some extra time, and also he is taking extra time to put some tires on that race car. Not often have we seen drivers go up on the jacks for 4 fresh Goodyear Eagles. In the 48, AJ Green's going to make the same mistake. He'll overshoot his pit box, and that will hand the lead to Adam Alashire. Fuel only, 6.7 second stop. CJ Munier and Austin Reedy going to round out your top 3. So yet again, another change at the front of the field. I think that's been the word to describe this race up until this point, Francisco. Change, and change to the max. We've seen leaders up at the front immediately get that taken away. They drop to the midfield or even all the way to the back. We've seen heavy hitting drivers end up in crashes, then come back with the amount of cautions we've seen tonight. So change, arguably, or probably not arguably, the best word to describe this event, and change will come in the form of another new race leader in the 91 of Adam Alashire.
All I can say is the super speedway races always make the script writers happy, don't they?
They do. I know we've seen a lot of the NFL script memes on Twitter. Somebody, what was it, Adrian Foster, that said that the NFL was rigged. They have scripts every season. I know that's not the case in the 4-wide racing league. These guys are as authentic as can be, but it definitely looked like it's scripted with the way the super speedway races play out and how this next-gen car handles.
All I can say is Brandon Gillis was not a fan of that script, and Lawson Field does not like his script for today. He likes how the season's been playing out. He didn't like how today was supposed to go, though.
And definitely so. The 3-time winner sitting out for the rest of this event. And speaking of, we do have a chance to talk with the 3-time winner and driver for Drinkin' Bros Racing and defending series champion at most important, Lawson Peel in the 12. Lawson, I know it was a tough break for you. You got caught up in a couple of accidents in tonight's race. It forces you to sit out the rest of these laps that are awaiting us here from Talladega. But from your perspective, what has this race been like behind the wheel and from the viewing seat?
Crazy. Yeah, it was unfortunate, but it happened. So just kind of stay positive. It's Talladega for sure. But as you can see, you just get crazy runs, but also just crazy checkups. So it's a trade-off, and you can really gain, but also you really have to be paying attention for those checkups. And as you can see, when just one person loses focus for just a second, or somebody doesn't see that checkup coming, it's not a good result.
We know things happen at these super speedways. It's been so chaotic, and I know you, on behalf of Drinking Bros Racing, you're watching a lot of your teammates out there. Is there any advice that you're trying to give them in this last leg of the race, or are you just letting them run wild and you trust them to do whatever they're going to do to try and win?
Honestly, I'm just trying to get a good angle so I can spot for them, and just going to let them know what's going on, where the runs are coming. Like when that third line was coming a second ago there, we were talking about that. Yeah, DBR was holding that front 6 spots in that top to middle lane there for a while. So we're just trying to kind of tell them who was coming so they could hold on to that. But not really too advice that's too specific. Just trying to call it for them. But yeah, it's gonna be a neat perspective here just to get to watch for a little bit.
Lawson. Oh, I'm sorry, Kenneth.
Go
But
ahead,
Lawson,
Francisco.
while we're still under caution before the race goes back under green, what's your favorite Chick-fil-A meal? We've seen you run that paint all year, but I've been wondering, what is your favorite meal?
Man, I go for the 4-count strips, but you can't go wrong with the sandwich either. Just a chicken sandwich with American cheese on it. So everything they got in there is pretty good.
You might have to buy some for me here in the next couple of weeks. You got me
Some
craving
waffle
it.
fries,
Now.
too.
Yes,
Yeah, and I'll take you to Wawa myself on me.
I've actually never had Wawa, so I'd love to try it.
Come down to
Nope.
Florida. We got plenty of them.
Yeah, I make it down to Destin about once a year, but I don't know if they have one in that area.
Oh, man, you got to get south of Orlando.
Yeah.
That's definitely true. But Lawson, certainly we appreciate the time. We appreciate the perspective. I know obviously things got cut short for you here at Talladega, but looking forward to seeing you come back at Atlanta Motor Speedway in 1 week time. We appreciate it once more, and best of luck.
Yeah, appreciate it, Kenneth. Be looking forward to next week and looking forward to the end of this race. Get to watch and not be a part of the chaos here. So less stress on me.
So that's Lawson Peel in the 12. I'm going to agree with that count. Chicken sandwich, simple with a slab of cheese. Perfect at a place like Chick-fil-A. Ready for the green flag here at Talladega Super Speedway with 24 laps remaining. Adam Alashire and CJ Munier at the helm of the field. The 91 switches up top. He'll block Munier on the restart to turn 1.
An odd restart. The way he was drifting up, it almost looked like something was going on, at least with the hardware. But that was actually a controlled block. It looked like it was before the line. I'm not sure if the league has any rules about that. It was definitely, like I said, a bit odd. And it's going to, unfortunately, cost the 89 of Munier a little bit. He's going to fall back way down the order, almost outside the top 5. And it keeps Alshire in the lead with the 96 now behind him. Those two out in front by a good margin, but they will get caught up now by the 24 of Tristan Bailey, the 99 of Forster. There's Joe Sanchez moving up the racetrack. Bailey's going to move up. They'll get the help from Forster now. Oh, gets a little bit sideways there. Forster now goes to the bottom. Bailey tries to block Sanchez. It'll successfully do so. And now there's an almost 3-wide moment there.
Oh, contact! Sanchez is around into the outside wall. He got hit by Munier and Kyle Benson. Caution is out. Front straightaway. And the 55 with heavy front tolling damage on the right side of the race car. And with 22 laps remaining, the cookout machine is cooked in turn 1.
Yeah, that's not what he wanted to see there. I mean, for a second, just for a brief second of travel, it looked like there was tight 3-wide going on. Almost like if there was no room. You see it right there, just when Benson peaked there. He tries to get back in line just in front of Lance Hill. There's not enough room. It sends him wiggling up the track just enough to clip the 55 of Sanchez, and that's exactly where this wreck starts, Kenneth. We'll get a look at it from a little bit further back. There's a wobble at the front. Lance Hill blocks Joe Sanchez. Forster goes down to the bottom. And there you see Benson's just kind of in the middle trying to get into the line, but Hill's just there enough to prevent the 10 from being able to cleanly get down to the bottom. And there you see it once again, just cuts down just enough. It sends him up enough, and Sanchez gets loose. A little bit of an overcorrect as well, but when the race car gets out of control that quickly, it's hard to maintain it. And with no space on the racetrack, these guys were fighting for very tight real estate there. And unfortunately for Joe Sanchez, there you see just how bad the damage is on the front. I believe he has to go around another lap before he comes down pit road. I think he still has the fast repair, Kenneth. I don't think he was involved in an incident in this race yet. Not at least a super damaging incident yet in this race. So he should have the fast repair still available to him to continue on and try to win this race.
You are right. He does have that faster pair to his deposit. So the 55, we should expect him to come down pit road. We know tolling damage is well more than 5 minutes waiting on the iRacing damage clock. So he is easily going to take the 2.5. He'd rather take that, in fact, for the faster pair, as Adam Alashire will lead this race. He'll try to find the pace car and hopefully not stop in the middle of the racetrack waiting for it. There he finds it out of turn 4. So him, Reedy, and Forrester will lock up the top 3. We'll watch the 55 come in for pit road. He's 17th scored on the racetrack. And you're right there, Francisco, just that little bit of a touch. It sends one car up a track. It's a game of inches at these super speedways, especially when you're in that mix of 3 wide and even pinching 2 wide competition. You're going to have the slightest of moves, make contact with somebody, and you're going to end up in a crash. And so for Joe Sanchez, just got caught up on the poor end of the stick. And there he is with that wobbly right front coming down to pit road. That's the same set of damage that we saw Xander Short pick up earlier in tonight's race after hitting the outside safer barrier. And so again, like we said, 55 has the faster pair given to him, so he will have a fresh race car by the time he goes back to the restart. But he will have a lot of track position to make up, and trust me, in Talladega, it could be easy, but it could also be very hard, just depending on how the field plays it. Brandon Gillis going to get the wave around here. He is one of a handful of cars 1 lap down or more in this race. We'll also update you on the DNF list here inside 20 laps to go. Jesse Prees in the 00. We saw him get into Lawson Peel and turn him up into the outside wall. Jesse Prees is out of this race in 31st. Rodney Roberts also with quick trouble to start. He will be 29th. He's also behind the wall in the garage. And then, of course, like we talked with Lawson Peel, his day also cut short. He's technically still out on the track, but his damage repair... Actually, there he is. He's coming out of pit road. So instead of having the viewing perspective, I think we'll have Lawson Peel back in contention. He's going to be many laps down in this race, but he'd rather finish it than just watch the finish from the sideline.
He's going to pass a couple of cars that are laps down and out of the race. I think that's what he's aiming for. Trying to do what he can to win the regular season championship, of course, to get extra bonus points for all that. So if he can help himself on a day like today, it might just pay out. You never know. It comes down to just a couple of points, and you look back on a day like today, even though he might finish something like 27th or so, it could be just enough points, the difference between 27th and 31st, that'll allow him to be able to capture that. But who knows? And it's better to do that now than at Daytona once it's a little bit more decided. Just do it now and get it out the way. It's tough, but yeah, you got to do it sometimes. So he's going to try and complete the rest of this race, gain those positions. And Kenneth, of course, we won't be in the booth next week, so we won't be able to ask this question next week. So I'll ask you this. You're not a big football fan, or at least you don't watch it that much, but it is, of course, the biggest game of the year coming up. We have Super Bowl 57 on February 12th. Do you have a pick? Do you have an idea of who might get that win?
Oh, that is tough. I've watched a bit of football over the past couple of months. I haven't been super engaged with the NFL like some others. I know you have, Francisco. You're a huge Jaguar fan. They went to the playoffs this year.
That was a crazy game.
Yeah, crazy game, that huge comeback. But, I mean, you've been more engaged than I have. But I think just with what I've seen, just who I like, I think I'm going to go with Kansas City. I don't think I can go against Patrick Mahomes. I do like that Philadelphia Eagles team, and I know my good broadcasting friend Jacob Hitz is from that area. He's a big Philly Eagles fan, so I know he's going to be rooting for Jalen Hurts and company, but I think I'm just going to go on the other side. I'll pick the Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. What about you?
I'm still completely undecided, and it's due to the injuries that Kansas City's currently facing at the wide receiver position. They were playing the second half with Sky Moore, and Juju was out. A couple of key guys that they use in their offense was out in the second half of that game. So I feel like depending on what's the report come next week on who's available and who might sit out for the Super Bowl, if they have at least 80% of those guys available, I'd say, then I'm going to go with Kansas City. But it's a tough choice. You could really go with either team and be right. The Philadelphia Eagles have had a story season, and, as the head coach of the Jaguars now, Doug Peterson, used to coach for them, that kind of makes me want to side with them. But like I said, undecided at the moment. Both teams deserve it. They've worked really hard. The top seeds in both conferences really can't wait for that game. It should be a really good one in Arizona. Rihanna hopefully puts on a really good halftime show. She deserves that one. And, probably the biggest news today, just before we go green, the greatest of all time has announced his retirement officially this time, not part-time as he probably did last year, but for sure this time he said he's done. So congratulations on a Hall of Fame career of definitely the greatest of all time, Tom Brady.
Yeah, we saw his announcement in the morning, and he announced to the team at like 6 in the morning, I think, on the East Coast, that he was going to be retiring for good, according to his word. I'm not believing him until we get to the NFL season this year. I'm not going to believe him, but we'll just find out exactly how that all shakes out. And also with the fact that the Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs, both of them have won at least one Super Bowl in the last 5 years, so a lot of them with momentum on their side. Ready for the green flag inside, 20 laps to go from the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. It will once again be Adam Alashire in control of the restart. Austin Reedy in the 96 to join alongside inside row number 1. Heading for the Geico restart zone. 19 laps to go, tallied when we get back to the stripe. Alashire up and away on the gas, through the gears, and we're underway once more from Dega.
Daniel Michel's finding himself closer to the front of the field now. He's had a quiet night, Kenneth, but he is in the top 5 right now. He's got help from behind with the 10 of Kyle Benson. He also has the 16 of Tyler Murray, so he's in a bit of a sandwich there of a couple of the Murray Motorsports cars, but right now it's a couple of stonks and Trackhouse cars up at the front of the field trying to control this race. So it's really a game of 2 teams. They're kind of split. You see a couple of the stonks guys and Trackhouse guys on the pits on the bottom and the top, with Tristan Bailey down on the inside, but his 2 teammates are up there. So if they can find a way to each other, it could be interesting. But with the way they're split, they might not get to do everything they want.
And that's the biggest note that I'm taking for Murray Reedy Motorsports. Of course, Reedy is your race leader. Tristan Bailey is sat back in 3rd as the 99 gives a huge push to the 96 coming to the stripe. You have the 16 of Tyler Murray outside, a couple of cars back on that 2nd lane. And then you just have a couple more behind that have been friends with these guys over this race. But it looks like the outside will be led by a pair of Murray Reedy Motorsports cars, one of them being Kyle Benson in the 10. They'll try to grab a huge run out of turn 2. Meanwhile, car in the back, Brandon Banks looking to make it 3 wide with some of his teammates on the back straightaway.
One Tyler earlier in this race was on a long winless streak. The other Tyler's also on a pretty lengthy one themselves, so if he can help his teammates get up there, it could offer himself a shot to end that winless streak as well. Ironically, also last coming at the Daytona International Speedway, though the night race of the same season. So Tyler swept Daytona last year. They're going to see if they can do what they can to try and win this race. But before any of that can get decided, Daniel Michaud now to the front of the field. He won at Road America on that insane final lap. And now he's got Tristan Bailey for the lead, as Bailey now gets help from his teammates. There you see Kyle Benson and Tyler Murray are now trying to see if they can get
the 3 cars at the very top, but they may have a run and a challenge for the money on the outside. 3 DBR cars, Banks, Sanchez, and CJ Munier. Or rather, not CJ Munier, I think that's a 3rd car in line. Eric Schaefer in the number 3, in fact, your pole sitter tonight. And the teammates are rising out of nowhere. They are finally linking up. They'll catch the line for 16 laps to go from Talladega. Murray with a huge block on Brandon Banks outside, 3 wide.
And look how sideways it got him, but it worked. He's clear. He's still able to make it work. And there you see the teammates at the front now are battling the way they're trying to get to the bottom. It's going to leave Murray up on the top. He's going to leave the outside lane. And we'll see what he can do with it now. He's got Banks. He's got several guys that are lined up behind him that will work with each other, but maybe not with him. See if they'll stay in line or try and move out. It looks like they're trying to get out from behind him, and they might just do so, as that's Austin Reedy going up the racetrack almost into the outside wall.
He'll get into Forster on the apron, entering turn 3. He thought he was clear and cleared himself out. The 96 on the apron, and we will stay green.
I don't know exactly what that was. It was an abrupt move to the very outside, then an abrupt move back to the bottom. I'm trying to see if I can listen to the voice chatter. It doesn't sound like it was a planned move exactly by the 96, so not sure what happened there. We'll probably get to see what exactly what happens post-race when he gets to talk about it. But right now, in the front of the field, again, it's Daniel Michaud and Joe Sanchez. Then there's Eric Schaefer. He's found himself back in the picture after starting on pole, leading the first green flag lap after the lap 1 yellow. Kind of drifted to the back, was in the 30th position at one point, and now he's back into the front of the field with 15 laps to go.
Multiple comebacks and multiple of those stories. The 55 is Sanchez, involved in our last caution, had to take the faster pair on pit road, and he is back to the point. The 3 of Eric Schaefer, like you said, had been buried back in the field after being the pole sitter, and is now second looking for the lead. He'll duck down low. He'll get help from the 25 of Michel. Michel tries to back out and force it 3 wide, and to the stripe. Sanchez has it with 14 laps to go.
It's going to really help that outside middle line try and gain a couple spots. Jaden Porter's still trying to make 3 wide work as Schaefer's getting sideways from these pushes. And look what happens. Now you have Tyler Murray with Tristan Bailey behind him. Murray's going to go to the bottom. Bailey can't follow him. Not yet anyways. Now that Bailey's clear, does he go with his teammate? He won't. He'll go with Joe Sanchez instead. And Eric Schaefer's going to give a huge shot to the back of the 16. As you see a car now below the apron, it's the 91. He's going to have to safely rejoin. That's really going to hurt the inside lane's chances, at least right now, before they get back up to pace. Sanchez goes to the bottom. Bailey's going to challenge for the lead.
Textbook clearance by the 91 of Alashire. The 16 of Tyler Murray wibbles out of shape. He'll be in the middle, 3 wide. Eric Schaefer looking down low, and all of a sudden, AJ Green, Michael Newbraw have a shot for P1.
Guys all over the place that are finding themselves towards the front of the field, trying to get a shot to win. CJ Muir's found himself back in the top 10, and actually, speaking of him, there he is. He's into the out. Full hard contact. He's got a broken toe link. There you see the 93 as well. They're still pointed in the right direction and able to make it back around to pit road, so no caution flag there. That's going to hurt them. There you see Warner a little bit further back, kind of got left out as he was very close to that. But AJ Green in the, I don't know what this is, paint scheme, but an interesting one anyways, is at the front of the field with Michael Newbraw, pole sitter Eric Schaefer's there as well, and of course the Murray Reedy Motorsports and Drinking Bros Racing cars are trying to find a way to spoil this party for AJ Green, as there's Schaefer now to the bottom for the lead.
There's the 3 on the inside. They're 3 wide with Sanchez up at the top with no help. Bailey going to give support to the 48, bring him back to the lead. Look at James Carroll in his debut 4-wide Racing Cup Series event, up inside the top 3 after hanging in the back all race long with 12 laps to go. And a huge run by the top 2 of Bailey and Green. It's a question of how long does it take for the rest of the field to catch back up.
It won't be long. It'll definitely be before the end of this lap. And look at the push the outside's getting. That Terry Labonte paint scheme's going to find himself on the back of both lines are getting up there. And actually, the first person to get there is going to be the 3 of Eric Schaefer. He's going to get up there. He's going to not move up the racetrack. Oh, there's a crash in the back. Hard one. A couple of cars going around. This is definitely going to bring out the caution. And there it is. You see the 33 of Warner, the 42 of Bishop. That's his second incident. There's the Bucky's machine of Jason Hastings once again. And a couple other cars involved, Kenneth. And this is really going to spice things up as we'll be inside the restart. Here's a look at what happened. And there's D'Elia getting turned into the outside wall. Jaden Porter gets some damage in there as well. Usually has not, I don't think he's used a fast repair yet, so if he has to, it's available because that was part of it. There's some Warner involved, D'Elia. It looks like there's the white car there involved. I'm not sure who exactly that is, but several cars sliding through the grass. And relatively minor contact for everybody except for the driver of the 42 and the driver of the 53 as he goes head on into the wall.
You saw the contact there. Tyler Warner going hard into the inside safer barrier. They both made contact. That's exactly what started this instance. And there were 3 wide. Porter looked up top. Warner was just holding his line in the middle. I think just a mutual shared space argument there. It looks like the 33 just comes down a little bit. The 53 washes up. Obviously no intention by either party, but miscommunication causes the contact and it brings more drivers into it. We can also confirm Tony Kibbett is a car that got hip checked there on the back end of that crash. And remember, these are multiple drivers running for the Dash for Cash qualifier, Kibbett being one of them. Christopher Bishop also in that as well. And so you're looking at multiple cars that are in contention for the Dash for Cash. They're not going to be able to, at least if they stay in the back. Here's Tristan Bailey making a call for pit road. It looks like he may be the only one to do so inside your top 5. So a pivotal call by the 24, and everybody else will stay out.
It might be a call for tires, Kenneth, because at this point in the race, even though the track temp's cool, tire wear at Talladega is a bit more prevalent than it is at Daytona in its current state. And so it doesn't look like tires are going up on that car anyway, so forget anything I was going to say. But it's still important to note that there are guys here that are going to pit for damage repair. And he's going to probably come out in front of them. There you see Warner actually using the fast repair right now. He still has pit stall. I'm not sure what's going on there because his fuel would have been filled up by now. So, and there's cars that have taken fast repairs and done service that are already exiting. So, not sure what is going on with the Tristan Bailey machine. He was in the top 5, as you mentioned, Kenneth, and he's still on pit road. So, I don't know what's going on there. As now he's rolling the scene and not exiting pit road. Maybe some sort of penalty when he entered pit road and it held him. Not an admin one, but rather an iRacing. And he just kind of had to sit there and deal with it.
I'm not entirely sure. I see a little bit of crinklage on the right rocker panel near that exhaust pipe, so I think there might have just been a little bit of damage on Bailey's machine. That's a 42-second pit stop, by the way, for the driver of the 24. So I think it was damage repair, but to pit that far up the field, inside 10 laps to go, it's a very peculiar call. I'm not sure whether he's expecting more crashes to play this race from here on out or whether something else is in the cards for him. But looks like the 24 going to come down to pit road. He will forfeit all that track position, and so that will give third to the 6 of Michael Newbraw. By the way, looking at the drivers inside the top 5, your winner for the Dash for Cash qualifier, I believe there's multiple drivers that qualify for it. Eric Schaefer and Michael Newbraw, second and third, are the drivers in that group racing for the cash prize. And so it would definitely be interesting to see what they will do when it comes down to winning this race and trying to qualify for that Dash for Cash prize and what they're willing to do. I know Eric Schaefer and Michael Newbraw and AJ Green and Adam Alshire and Lance Hill, until you get to Joe Sanchez, these drivers all looking for their first win of the calendar year, and that would advance them into the playoffs. We talked, Francisco, about the possible importance of this race. Now that we're exactly halfway through the regular season, what you're going to have to do as a driver to set yourself up for the run for the playoffs, and I think nothing will come better than to get a victory here at a track that's so tough to win at in certain circumstances. Get that monkey off your back, and then just worry about that start of the playoffs when we get to Bristol.
It's been a while since my most recent 4-wide start, Kenneth, but the last one I made was at Daytona last season. It was the night race, and the driver currently in the lead of the race won that race. He was able to work with his teammates. I was able to work with him a couple times during that race and was in the top 5. I believe I had a top 5 result as well. But it was him that won the race. AJ Green was able to take victory in that race. He knows how to get it done on these super speedways. He's been able to do it before in the league and with these race cars. And now that he has the track position and a couple of teammates, he might be tough to beat. He got up to the front with some aggressive moves and has been very tough to pass. We'll see what he's able to do, Kenneth. I've seen what he can do out up there on the racetrack firsthand. To try and beat him here in this closing laps is going to be very difficult. But if you get enough of a run, you get enough of the right guys, anything's possible on the final lap.
Well, you know one thing, and that is throughout the entire catalog of Talladega races in the 4-wide Racing Cup Series, there've only been 4 through the seasons that we've had, at least back to date on record by Sim Racer Hub. There have been 4 different winners: Brad Herman, Edward Scherer, Joe Sanchez, and the most recent, Brendan Banks. We have never seen a repeat winner at Talladega Superspeedway in this league, in this Cup Series, in history to date. So there is that possibility for a 5th winner to come out of the fold and to also get what would be our 6th different winner of Season 5 alone. AJ Green, Schaefer, Alshire, Newbraw, maybe Hill, Kelly, all these guys without a race win this season. A lot on the line, an entrance into the playoffs on the line, some cash on the line for some drivers down low. There are so many moving pieces in this Talladega chaos train, and we still don't know where the destination will take us. Pace car will make that left to pit road. It'll be 8 laps to go when we wave the green flag at the start-finish line. AJ Green is your race leader. Eric Schaefer on the inside of row number 1. We see teammates, we see drivers who have been aggressive all night long, and maybe some third-party spoilers. Who knows? AJ Green will enter the Geico restart zone. Early jump with Adam Alshire. Green with 8 laps remaining.
I think he's surprised at number 3, and it's going to get both of them clear. So Alshire and Green are going to be clear, and they're both going to go to the bottom in front of the number 3. Good job there by those two. If that was the design play, as Schaefer's going to get the push, and he actually gets shoved out of line from how big the push was. from the 6 of Michael Newbraw. There he's going to have now help from Joe Sanchez, Tyler Murray, and Jaden Porter. So these guys are going to try and form up the outside. Now Newbraw's going to go up to the top. The 3's going to move to the outside. Newbraw gets stuck, and he gets hung out there as Hill fills the gap. So Michael Newbraw is going to pull down the order, and now we'll see what the number 3 can do. He's going to get to the outside of AJ Green. He's got a huge push from Joe Sanchez as we're going to come around to 7 laps to go with the sun setting at Talladega. It is absolutely go time.
Michael Newbraw gets shuffled to the tail end of that first pack. He'll try to get some draft on the outside with Daniel Michel. We may see some more cars into the mix as well. Outside line with a huge run to turn 1. Inside 7 laps to go. Tyler Murray enters third. Eric Schaefer, your pole sitter, with a head of steam out front. But the question is, can anybody man the inside? And that answer might come in the form of the 16.
Murray's going to go to the bottom, but we'll see what he can do. He's got Daniel Michel back there. You see Tristan Bailey, has already found himself back up there. That's actually, that's Kyle Benson. They have a similar side of the paint scheme. But those two have found themselves up and almost into the top 5. If the number 10 of Benson can get up to his teammate, it could spell trouble for the front group as the pack has really gotten together and the outside's very stacked up. You see exactly what's going on. There's some 3 wide going on as in the middle of the field. There's guys shuffling all over the place, making a lot of blocks. Warner's getting blocked on the very outside lane. The very outside's trying to make a run. There you see Austin Reedy and the 24 Bailey. They're trying to get back up into the top 10. And then will they have enough time with 6 laps to go? And at the front, there you see the 16 of Murray getting a huge push from Michaud. He's going to try and challenge for the lead here on the back straightaway.
Any type of patience has been thrown out of the window. They're trying to make a third line work. They'll have 2 cars, maybe 3 up there on the third lane. Austin Reedy and Tristan Bailey trying to make something work, but it's inside versus middle. Right now, back to turn 3, heading for 5 laps to go. Michel with a huge push to Tyler Murray. He has to back out as Murray slides up the track, and Eric Schaefer brings him out of turn 4 for the final 5 laps.
That could have been a lot worse. Murray could have gotten turned there like we've seen all night long, but Michel staying aggressive, but he's staying patient and loyal to the 16 for now. He's trying to push him up there to the lead. He knows he has a fast enough car to do so. That whole team does, and if he can stay patient enough, he could get up there, but I wouldn't look away. And is maybe see it's Tristan Bailey being pushed by Colin Forster. Michael Newbraw's thinking about moving up. There's Jaden Porter just in front of him. Does somebody move up to protect against this outside line? And the answer is, who's going to do it? You see Jaden Porter's going to move up, so now he'll go to the very top. Joe Sanchez sees that. He's thinking about covering off, but he can't. Porter's to his outside. They're 3 wide for second. They're almost 4 wide, almost wrecking. Car crash. The 3 up into the air.
It's the big one at Talladega in turn 4. Eric Schaefer up in the air, and this collects roughly half of the field, all junked up with 5 laps to go.
I saw what was going on with what we were focusing. I don't know how Schaefer got turned. There must have been contact with him and Tyler Murray going through 3 and 4 when Murray made that move for the lead. And that's what I think anyways. We got the angle on as it happened live. So it's actually Joe Sanchez back there. So you see Murray's going to have the run on the side. A huge run, and oh my goodness, this is exactly like the Tony Stewart crash. Wow.
And look at everybody piling in. Lance Hill,
Exactly
Brandon Gillis, Austin Reedy, Michael Newbraw, Kyle Benson. There is a list of cars that are all tagged up in it. We'll take another look at how it started with a 3 and just a block at the wrong time. And then travels up the track in front of the 16. And look at how high up in the air Schaefer goes before landing back on all 4s. And then everybody travels down the banking. That is a horrific but casual sight at a track like Dega. Everyone piles in, a huge plume of smoke. And then everybody collectively traveling down as the dust settles. There's Christopher Bishop involved. I see CJ Munier and Jaden Porter. There's what's left of the number 3 machine, your pole sitter with an opportunity to win his first race of the season. I believe absolutely cut short, 25th on pit road, and your race leader with 4 laps to go, Daniel Michel in the 25.
I can't begin to explain how eerily similar that looked to that famous 2012 crash, Kenneth. It was almost exactly the same. A huge run on the inside by Murray. The block by the leader, unfortunately, is what caused the crash. Goes up into the air himself, much like Stewart did. It was very similar. And the amount of cars involved, for that matter, was a huge portion of the field that got collected up in that. Of course, now that we have the fast repairs and all that, there's going to be guys that still are running. Of course, not everybody in that crash still has one, but the guys that do have one still available are going to be able to get back out there and still contend for this race. But I watched that wreck happen live and on the replays. It is eerily similar, very similar.
Yeah, easily memories of that crash. And that was also in the midst of the playoffs in that 2012 season. Yeah, same spot. Turn 3, just a problem, and it's just one car. Again, we talk about the margin of error being so small at these super speedways, and even in the beginning of the race, you had that margin of error be so thinned out to the point where a small mistake is going to send somebody into the wall. A small mistake is going to result in contact, and most of the time, you're going to have a crash develop in some shape or form, whether it be 2, 3, 1, or maybe a whole heap of cars like we just saw right now in this most recent yellow. And especially when you have desperation at an all-time high, everyone's running aggressively. They are not thinking about being conservative at all. Their only thought is race for the win and the win only. You have this happen. Somebody makes a mistake, a slight block, a slight big run of momentum that gets chopped off in some place. Somebody makes contact and you get a big crash. And now we are in a position, Francisco, where we are going to extend this race. We'll have an overtime restart with 2 laps to go.
Overtime at Talladega. Who had that in their bingo card going into the night? Am I right?
It's probably on every single row. I'm going to be honest.
It's also probably in the script.
It is. We're going to go back to the script. But I think you have to go by a script if you're going to a super speedway, right? You have to.
Of course. You're always preparing for an overtime restart at super speedways. In fact, if we were to just take the iRacing context out of it, almost every single time you take into account a super speedway race, the first thing that your mind goes to when trying to battle for a win is a 2-lap to go overtime restart, because that's usually what it comes down to, or at least what you expect it to come down to. Today has been no different. There's been races that, of course, end on a long green flag run, but you have to be prepared for that 2-lap shootout, because it doesn't matter where you are in the field, you're trying to figure out how can I get from here to the lead. And that's really what it comes down to. You have guys all over the place that are still in the lead lap that they feel they can win this. And we've seen in rarer instances, and I know you have, especially at podium, seen guys running 30th to start the final lap win the race after a big crash. And I'm not saying that that will or won't happen, but that's the kind of belief you also have to have in a track like this and just kind of fight through it all as the race goes on, because it doesn't matter where you are on the white flag. It only matters where you are when you cross the checkered flag. And the real question will be, will we see the start-finish line placement play a role? I mentioned it at the start. It is 1,000 feet down from the center of the start-finish line towards turn 1 at the exit of pit road. So will we see the leader in the middle of the trial will be the same leader at the line? We haven't exactly seen that late of a pass here before, not that I can think of, but with the way the racing's gone, Kenneth, I wouldn't rule it out. And I also wouldn't rule out the possibility of this not being our only overtime restart.
I'm not sure if it's a matter of if, it's a matter of when in most cases at these super speedways. And last time we were here at Talladega, that last lap pass happened in the trial on the final lap. Brandon Banks and all the chaos that went around him, he was able to take over the lead in the final couple of 100 feet. He was able to take that win, advance into the championship 5. Different scenario this time around, a different cast of drivers at the front, Daniel Michel and Tyler Murray. The first 2 in row number 1 will have a restart with 2 laps to go. If we get a caution before the leader gets the white flag, we'll double them up and do it again. We have a couple of attempts to finish this race under green. However, if the leader does get to the white flag, no caution is waved, we'll race it back to the stripe no matter what. We've seen what happens once the leaders get the white. Everything is thrown out the window, and you just have a raw, straight finish to the end. Daniel Michel, your leader. Tyler Murray, second. AJ Green, Curtis Kelly, third and fourth. Cody Ivey inside your top 5. Austin Reedy, Xander Short, Adam Alashire, Colin Forster, and the 24 of Tristan Bailey, the final driver inside your top 10. Will this be the final restart? Only one can hope. If you're that 25 of Michel, to stay out front. Pace car is down. They make that long wait to the Geico restart zone. Michel will have control with league owner Tyler Murray on the outside. Final handful of miles from the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. Green flag with 2 laps to go.
It's a good launch for Michel. He's able to get out there, but the outside lane is more connected. AJ Green has nobody in front or behind. Michel's going to have to be defensive. Does Murray go for it right now, or does he stay patient? He's going to go to the inside. He's going to have the help from Curtis Kelly, Tyler Murray, the league owner who hasn't won in almost 3 seasons, to the front of the field.
There's no help on the top. Maybe they'll have it in the form of Xander Short. They'll block up 3 wide. Michel trying to play damage control. He swerves down the track. More contact. They get into Cody Ivey. He goes down the apron. They're side by side for the lead in turn 3.
No, 16's going to go to the front, but watch out. That outside lane could have a shot. Looks like Benson's going to take it 3 wide, though. That's going to stall out their momentum. Xander's in the middle. Michel stuck in the middle. He still has the option to go up to the top. Almost a wreck there off of turn 4. Can they make it to the line? It's the 16 of Murray in the front.
As they head for the tri-oval, Tyler Murray leads, and this race is official. No more attempts at a green-white checkered. They crash in turn 1. James Carroll into the outside wall. That's the rookie driver. Xander Short in it as well. That leaves 3 cars on the bottom of the racetrack, and here comes the outside. Bailey gets turned by Michel on the back straightaway. 3 cars still to go for it. In the middle, heading for turn 3. Tyler Murray, who has been winless for so long in this series, had been looking for one many times. Daytona has been up on the calendar, so is Talladega, and he has the final shot at the start-finish line. Curtis Kelly and AJ Green with one more chance to get by. They try to make a move. Kelly down low. They make contact. AJ Green and Kelly make contact. They'll go up the wall. It's Daniel Michel and Brandon Banks to the line. It's Brandon Banks by 49 100ths of a second. Banks goes 2 in a row at Talladega.
He does it again. He did it the same way. Wow. And it played a role, Kenneth. That 1,000 feet that we mentioned, I believe there was at least 5 feet changes in that brief space of time. Brandon Banks, in similar fashion to how he did it last season, once again goes back to victory lane. Unreal. Unreal.
4 different winners in the last 4 races at Dega. We have our first repeat.
Wow. You see his teammate coming up to congratulate him, Kenneth, on the win, his first win of the season. We have to look at that again. That final lap, we have to look at the big crash in turn 1 and just what exactly happened on the trial. Well, there were so many incidents, and Banks, I don't even know where Banks was to start the final lap. He was definitely somewhere just on the outskirts of the top 10 or so, or something like that, as he comes across the tri-oval, where he made the move, where all he had to do was stay to the right of everybody and let everybody take themselves out to win this race, to celebrate a second win here at Talladega. And you have to feel for Tyler Murray, Kenneth. Such a long time without winning. And, of course, he made the move. He made the block that unfortunately got himself spun out there. But you have to go for the win if you're him. You have to do that move. If you don't make that move and you get side by side and lose on that, you're not going to live yourself. You're not going to live with yourself on that. So it's gonna hurt for a while. But Murray knows he did what he could to try and win this race. But again, congratulations to Brandon Banks on a wild finish and a fantastic win in similar fashion to how he did the first one. Let's see if we can get a look at that again.
And that is the 4th win in a row for Drinkin' Bros Racing this season. We questioned whether tonight could be the changer, whether anyone could overcome the team that had been so dominant to start the year. And it looks like that will not happen. They'll have to wait until Atlanta Motor Speedway 1 week from tonight again. Francisco, yes, we do have to look one more time at that final lap where Brandon Banks was on the outside 3rd car with James Carroll and Kyle Benson as Tyler Murray led this race. And obviously on the last lap at a super speedway where cautions aren't a factor, it's so hard not to make contact. You see the first bit of it happen around the mid-pack, and they collect the 44, the 21 of Short. You see a bit of wobbling there. There's Carroll, gets into Short. Banks somehow escapes that. That was right behind him.
Wow.
And then Banks shuffles in front of the 96 of Reedy. He's got a good shot at the drivers up front. And then Bailey gets turned around mercilessly by the 25 of Daniel Michel. They stay in line, and then obviously the run to the finish. The 16 of Tyler Murray had the checkered flag right in front of him. Curtis Kelly behind him, AJ Green in 3rd. None of them make it to the checkered flag inside the top 5. As Kelly tries the last move right here. Murray blocks late. He gets spun around, and then Kelly goes up the track inside into the 48.
Oh, and he almost saved it.
He finished 7th and 8th on the racetrack. That takes him out of contention for a win. And here's a look at it once more.
Now let's see what happened here, because we saw the 16 come spin down the racetrack. It looks like Curtis tries to move up the block, but the contact was a bit more excessive than what he might have wanted it to be. And then just at the line, Banks has enough forward momentum. Let's see what happens off 4. So Michaud sideways to try and avoid it. And I think that's exactly what might have cost him, Kenneth, because it looked like Michaud had it. But he had to swerve to really avoid these two. Banks didn't really have to do that as much, and that difference right there is exactly what did it. And then obviously the hit by Benson here isn't going to exactly help his case, but you could have made the argument that had Michaud not gotten sideways from that aggressive of a move to avoid those two, he definitely could have had a shot to a photos finish. But fantastic win by Banks, and look at that shot. That's an incredible shot for second right there. Look at this. That right there is an all-time picture, if there is one.
As an all-time battle for third, Kyle Benson wins it by 1/1000th of a second over that 91. So he gets the podium for Murray Reedy Motorsports, but that's the difference of victory, roughly 51/100ths of a second, and it's Brandon Banks in the victory chair, and he will celebrate his first win of Season 5 here from the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. We'll try and catch our breath, but before we do that, we'll take a look at your full unofficial results from Lincoln, Alabama after an unbelievable set of last 2 laps. Brandon Banks grabs his first win of the season, becomes the first repeat winner in 4-Wide Racing Cup Series history at this track. Daniel Michaud ends up P2. Kyle Benson wins out by 1/1000th of a second for third over Adam Alashire in the 91. Austin Reedy in the 96, strong all night long, just could not find the momentum near the end to get to the very front. He ends up rounding out your top 5. Kevin D'Elia, strong run, got caught up in a couple of crashes. He's P6 though to end this race. Curtis Kelly and AJ Green, they were tussling in the tri-oval, and that's ultimately what robbed them of a race victory. They're 7th and 8th, though. Christopher Bishop in P9, Colin Forster in your top 10. And also to note, based on our list of drivers for the Dash for Cash, Brandon Banks at the very top of it all in P1. This is 11th on back, starting with rookie driver Xander Short, Nicholas Vizzuti to follow suit in P12. Joe Sanchez ends up P13 after an up-and-down night from Dega. Jaden Porter is 14th. Tristan Bailey, who got turned on the last lap, exit turn 2. He's the last driver in your top 15. Brandon Gillis, Cody Ivey, Tyler Murray, James Carroll, and Tony Kibbett will round out your top 20. A huge hit, a huge dagger for Tyler Murray. They're in contention at the end of the race, and he gets put all the way back to the midfield.
In 21st, you have Lance Hill with CJ Munier down in 22nd. Michael Newbrough, who was up in the front in the closing stages, finishes 23rd. Eric Schaefer, your pole sitter, unfortunately down in 25th. Tyler Warner down in 25th. Jason Hastings will finish in the 26th position with Cody Kinsey in 27th. Brian Dixon will finish in 28th. Rodney Roberts, unfortunately, didn't have much run tonight, will finish in 29th. Lawson Field, who we talked to just before the end of the race here, will finish in the 30th spot, passing the 31st place car, which is Jesse Freese. And Brady Cox, who didn't make the start of the race, will be the last car to finish in the 32nd position.
Well, it was a hectic race from Talladega. All of the 30-plus cars in this field had their twists and turns, but it was Brandon Banks at the head of it all and into victory lane for the first time this season. We have a chance to talk with your winner from Dega, and it's Brandon Banks in the number 54. Brandon, I have to imagine, again, just like last season's race at this very track, those memories probably came up at some point because you were in contention inside the top 6 or so on that final lap, and you make a miracle. Last couple of 100 feet pass in the tri-oval, just like you did the last time, you win this race. First of all, how do you feel?
That was awesome, man. Like, I had Lawson screaming in my ear so loud I could barely even hear what was going on. Yeah, that's awesome. Like I said, I tried to save that fast repair there to the end just so I had a little something if we did get something late like we did. And Just trying to bide my time in the middle of the pack there and just not get killed with all those different cautions we had. But took that fast repair right there at the end, and I said, let's just go high. And CJ went with me, and kind of unfortunate he got caught up there in that last little wreck there in the corner. I think they just barely missed me. But yeah, it just worked out, and then I saw Daniel kind of get out of shape there on the back stretch, and I said, I'm gonna push you, man. I'm just gonna push you to the end, and he got a little out of shape, I guess, when Curtis and Murray got there at the end, and I just happened to go around him. So, good win. Like I said, good DBR 1-2, and like I said, we'll go to Atlanta and try to win some money.
Of course, that dash for cash, one of the biggest things on the mind, but obviously, entrance into the playoffs has to mean so much. You join some of your DBR teammates, Lawson Peel and Daniel Michel, Joe Sanchez in that group as well, and now it makes it 4 wins in a row for this Drinking Bros Racing organization dating back to Road America when Michel picked that first one in this streak. How important is this run, this fiery run from Drinking Bros Racing into the rest of the regular season and heading for the playoffs?
It's big, man. Like I said, just to get a win in this league, the guys in this league are so good that, I mean, just to get one win is awesome. Like I said, with these guys getting multiple wins, I don't know how they do it. But yeah, this league here, these guys are so hard to beat, and just to get up there and be able to have a chance to race with those guys at the end of the year, that's it's kind of special. And like I said, we'll do the best to represent the DBR logo, and like I said, we'll do the best we can.
6 different winner in this Season 5 campaign of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series. You're locked into the playoffs. So with that in mind, what's your mindset for Atlanta and the rest of the regular season moving forward?
Oh, it's just nice now. I can kind of go in and don't have to take the conservative route trying to get there. We had a couple of bad races at the beginning of the season. We're really kind of awful on the road courses compared to some of these guys. They're really good, and just tried to keep afloat here just to kind of make it on points. But now with the win, we can kind of go in there and some of those other tracks and try to send it up there with those guys and not have to worry so much about being able to race for points so much. So that's really big. Like I said, it's a kind of good win. Like I said, it was exciting there at the end. I really hate it for some of those guys that got wrecked, Jesse and all them. They're so good at these type of tracks, and then just bad things happen here. It's really tough to even be there at the end in these things. So just to be there, it's a blessing.
The pressure's off your back in terms of getting a win for the playoffs. You get a chance for some cash prizes as well later in the campaign. Brandon, before we let you go and let you celebrate the rest of the night here from Talladega Superspeedway, anybody else you want to give a shout out to or thank?
Oh, definitely DBR guys. I said those are guys who brought the best group of guys to run with every day. We push each other every day to try to be better. And like I said, Tyler and Reedy and all those guys that put this on. This is probably the most fun league we're in. That hands down. And like I said, you guys put on a great broadcast. Appreciate what you do in here. And like I said, let's go to Atlanta and let's see what we can do.
Well, we certainly appreciate the time, Brandon. On behalf of our entire MaxSpeedTV team, congratulations on the win and only one lap left. I think that's definitely the staple of Talladega Superspeedway racing. But you win this race. Congratulations once more. We'll see you at Atlanta in 1 week time.
Thanks, Kenneth.
So that is Brandon Banks, an unbelievable win to the finish, 51/100ths of a second over the driver who comes home in second. And I know, Francisco, this is a 1-2 for DBR, but Danny Michel, second place here from Talladega.
Well, Daniel, it was almost a win for you. You took evasive action to avoid the 2 spinning, and you came across the line almost in reverse and still finished in second. So how would you rate your race and how you were able to come back for that fantastic finish?
I think that race was just amazing. I obviously on that last restart, I was just really trying to keep it up front. So I was throwing every block imaginable as much as I could without wrecking the car. And going to the last lap, I see Tristan Bailey, and I tried to give him a shove. I got him loose off of 2 and accidentally turned him. I feel bad for him, but that whole lap with Banks, that after the backstretch, when he saw me there and started shoving me, I can't believe we got to the front as quick as we did, and I'm not even mad about losing the lead. He deserved it. With that push, we were going faster than any car in the field at that point.
It certainly was, and for the most part, all race long, the most common theme for most of the wrecks was cars getting into the left rear of the driver they were pushing. We know that iRacing did these cars, the nose to make it more rounded. But do you feel that there's still a bit of a difference there with guys being very aggressive on the left rear and how you push somebody on that side of the car? Did you have that experience in the pack that maybe we didn't see, that you were trying to push somebody and maybe almost spun them out by pushing them towards the left rear?
Well, me and Michael Newbraw were actually going through the field, and he was pushing me at that point, and Banks, I think, was on the bottom, and we were in the middle. I got turned by Newbraw because even though he thought he was square, the car kind of hooked, and I got into Banks a little bit, almost spun out. But it's a little quirk, I feel. There might be a little issue that might be hot fixed within the week. I know that there's a hot fix today, I believe. So I'm a little skeptical when it comes to all the wrecks that happened today. I don't think it's everyone's fault. It's just the way that the car is, honestly.
Well, of course, you still managed to come home in second after a really good end portion of the race. So we'll give you the opportunity to give a shout out to everybody to help make this happen.
Well, I definitely want to shout out the DBR guys, Banks especially. The way that he was pushing there towards the end, I wouldn't have even gotten close to being second. And then you guys for the broadcast and all the admins, Tyler Murray, just hosting this league. It's so much fun. Like Banks said, I enjoy it a lot. I'm running in a few leagues now, and I always can't wait to run on Wednesdays.
We appreciate you taking the time with us, Daniel. But of course, before we let you go, I got to ask you this one question. It's a week earlier because we don't have a race next week, but I'll still ask you anyway because it's that time of the year. I asked Kenneth, and we already know what he has to say. Do you have a prediction for who's going to win Super Bowl 57?
I'm thinking it's going to be the Eagles. The way that defense was playing last week, that might be how it is.
Well, you heard it there. He said the Chiefs, so and I might be leaning Philadelphia. It's all dependent on the injury report from Kansas City. But we appreciate your time. We appreciate your answers, and we wish you luck going into Atlanta, Daniel. Hopefully, you can finish one spot higher there.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'm going to need some more testimonials. I need more people on my side because it looks like everyone's saying fly, Eagles, fly. But Danny Mitchell, that car was flying out of the racetrack. He is short of the race win, but a lot of high spirits for him. And obviously off that win at Road America, he's locked in the playoffs. So not a lot of worries for him, and obviously a great race put together near the end. We'll talk to the driver who edges out barely Adam Alshire for that third place position, and it's Kyle Benson in the number 10. Kyle, I know that you and your teammates fast with Murray Reedy Motorsports all night long. What was your perspective in particular in those final 2 laps?
Hey, man. Man, that sucks. I thought I was going to get him. I saw a big hole in the middle, and I saw Michelle go up the racetrack, and I was going to go below him, and he stood where he's at, so I just absolutely drilled him. But, man, it sucks. I had just a killer run on the outside lane. The outside lane was just dominant all night long, and I finally, got it to move, and man, we were hauling, Kenneth. I thought I was gonna win the race, but man, it sucks. I saw Michelle and Banks get linked up, and I got to thank Alshire for pushing the hell out of me. I didn't think I was gonna get there, and when the top 3 started wrecking each other, I had a chance about 250 foot before the line, but didn't capitalize on it, unfortunately, and had to settle for third. But I mean, man, I thought I was gonna have it, dude. I felt close, dude. The win's coming, I know that, but man, I thought I was gonna have it tonight.
Couple of strong runs, and I know one easily here at Talladega Super Speedway. I want to talk about the teamwork between yourself, Tristan Bailey, Tyler Murray, Austin Riddy throughout the entire race, and most notably near the end. How was that between you 4 and trying to work together here at this track?
It's just like clockwork, man. We did it before at Daytona. It's just like clockwork. We know what we need to do, and trying to get linked up at the end of the race is really big and really keen, just to have a chance. And we got spread out that last lap, and you're just kind of finding friends where you can go. But during the race, we just try to, get together, just clock laps and not really worry about everything. If we're in the front, cool. If we're in the back, cool. Doesn't matter to us. We're just trying to make sure we're logging laps and right there at the end. But, it's nice when, you got 2 teammates with you up front, and, it looks better on the broadcast. But other than that, I mean, it's like I said, just like clockwork. It was fun working with them as per usual, but I think if we were up there together, I think we had a good shot at it. But, you can't beat DBR right now. They're fast. They're clicking. You know, we're trying to get there, and I think we're gonna get there here in the next few weeks. But it's just gonna take a matter of time, and it's just a matter of getting back into the groove of these cars.
Certainly so. And I'm going to ask this one question because Francisco asked it to Daniel Micho. He asked it to me. And he got his opinion on the broadcast. We want to know who your pick is for the Super Bowl because right now it looks like the Eagles are beating me right now. I'm the only one voting for the Chiefs. I'm not sure if you're going with Philly or Kansas City, but I'm just praying that you're going to be on my side this time.
Kenneth, I'm sorry, dude. I'm a PA boy myself. I got to take the Phillies, the Philadelphia Eagles. I just said the Phillies. It's not the MLB. I don't know. I'm going to take the Eagles, man. I don't like Patrick Mahomes. I'm sorry. I got to take the Eagles. I'm a PA boy. I got to stick to the home crowd and go for it. But, who knows, man? Who knows?
All right, I'm the lone wolf. I'm gonna accept it now. But Kyle, a big third place finish here from Talladega Super Speedway. Before we let you go and before we let you get ready for Atlanta next week, anybody in particular you'd like to thank?
Yeah, dude. Just gotta thank Four Wide. Just a fantastic league. Tyler Murray. Just gotta thank everybody for putting this thing on. You guys for a broadcast. Man, Kenneth, I haven't talked to you in a while, and it feels good to talk to you again. I'm hoping to get back to, the ways of yesteryear. So, but other than that, just got to thank everybody that comes in here, man. This is probably more competitive leagues I ever run, and I'll probably run here till I croak or the league croaks. So, other than that, man, just thank you guys for a broadcast. Thank everybody coming in the 4 wide every single week, dude. We're starting to get to consistently 28 to 30 cars, which I'm happy to see, dude. I got to thank TJ's team. Fantastic organization, for pediatric cancer. Everybody hates cancer, dude, and, they're doing a great job trying to fight and pay bills for people. But other than that, man, that's about it, dude.
I know it has been a minute since we've talked in the broadcast.
Yes, it has,
the
dude.
top 3 finish,
Yeah.
but always a great time talking to you. And Kyle, again, congratulations on the 3rd place finish here from Talladega. We look forward to seeing you and the rest of Murray Reedy Motorsports take on Atlanta in 1 week time.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you.
So that is the driver of the number 10, Kyle Benson. Falls short. He's P3, though. Great finish here from the 2.66 mile Super Speedway in Lincoln, Alabama. Francisco, I have to imagine now the biggest storyline going into Atlanta 1 week from tonight is who can stop Drinking Bros Racing. Last 4 wins in the last 4 races. Brandon Banks, the most recent. They've got 4 drivers in the playoffs. And now it's about what's going to happen at the tricky and rough and abrasive Atlanta Motor Speedway next week.
It's going to be difficult, Kenneth, because I think the first name that pops up in your head as far as a contender for next week's race is going to be Lawson Field. Won the last 2 races at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. He's been dominant on mile and a half, and he's been dominant the last season and a half. So I think you have to figure out how to beat Lawson Field if you're going to consider trying to go for a win at the Atlanta Motor Speedway next week. He's, like I said, he's won the 2 races there, or the last 2, and he's just been very dominant. So you go into that race and you have to make no mistakes, and you have to expect to be battling Lawson Field. We know there's a lot of tire wear there, so you have to save tires super effectively. And because it's the old Atlanta, there's not much that these guys probably have to go off with these cars at that track, since in real life anyways, the next gens never actually ran on that racetrack. So it's interesting to say the least, but we'll see who's able to do it, if anybody's able to do it. So for now, I would say Drinking Bros Racing is in complete control in the driver's seat with Lawson Field as the favorite to win next week. I think your concern is trying to find more people to be on your side, man. Everybody's going for the Philadelphia Eagles. I never stated who I'm going for yet. Like I said, I'm going to make that decision down the line. I'm leaning. I'll kind of give you this one. I'm leaning a little bit Kansas City. It's just a little bit. It's just a little bit dependent on their injury situation, if you will. But you see, I'm more focused on Super Bowl 58 when the Jaguars get there. But that's another story.
Hey, I have 2 weeks. To find people on my side. I have time. So that's the only guarantee that I have. At least we're not like 2 days out from the Super Bowl instead of more than a couple of weeks. But that is the biggest point. A very big one you make. In fact, Lawson Field, the winner last time we were at the old surface of Atlanta. That is the 2008 iRacing scan of Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll get into more detail about that at the top of the show 1 week from tonight. Be sure not to miss it. February 8th, 2023. Same time, same place. 9, 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on the MaxSpeedTV YouTube channel. So for everyone involved at the 4 Wide Racing League and everybody a part of the admin team and the race council, for league owner Tyler Murray, and from all of us at MaxSpeedTV, and for my colleague in the booth, Francisco Bacallao, we say good night from Talladega Super Speedway. Congratulations to Brandon Banks on his first win of Season 5. We'll see you next week from the land of peaches in Atlanta, Georgia.